All right, we're live, and we're here talking with Leon McKenzie, the writer of Ignition, and we're going to try to get down and dirty and figure out what this book is really about. Because I've said a little bit, I haven't really said a lot, um, and I'll take questions if anybody has any. Uh, we'll try to get some people in here to join us. A lot of people always ask me, tell me more about Ignition, and we'll see what happens. Oh, look who we got! We got Jimmy Ortiz. What's up, Jimmy?
What's up, Todd, man? How y'all doing? Y'all
We're
live?
doing here.
Because I went to your channel. I didn't see anything.
Yeah, we're live now. We missed it by a minute, but we're live now.
Oh, well, now I sound very yeah. So yeah, how y'all doing?
Good, good.
Good.
I'm gonna tweet it out and get it out there. And you guys, Leon, this is Jimmy. Jimmy, this is Leon. He's my writer.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, man?
Good, man. So you're the writer for Ignition?
Yep, that's me.
Nice. I think Todd either faded out or he muted himself.
No, I'm here. I'm just gonna tweet it out and get it out there that we're on.
Awesome, dude. Well, you know.
Yeah, I just.
You're kind of roboting a little bit, Leon.
Oh.
What's that?
Your phone might be better because when I talk to you on your phone, I don't have any issue. I wonder.
Yeah.
But it might be tricky because I think you might have to download the Hangouts app. But go ahead, talk to him, Jimmy. I'm gonna start tweeting this out there.
Yeah, man. Let's talk. Let's get some questions going. Let's find out what we're doing.
Oh, but shoot, man. Look, hey, that's one thing that I do. I interview people now. Don't get me rolling. So tell me why or how the concept of Ignition came about.
Well, that's a loaded one. So me and Todd have known each other for a couple through Twitter. Saw some of his artwork. I dropped some polite messages saying like your work, and then we just started talking from there. We were both doing different things, and then I was working on a Dracula story, and I was halfway through that, and I said to Todd, like, can I get some feedback on this? And it's kind of rough, but be gentle. So I sent Todd like the first couple of scripts, and Todd loved it. He was like, "Oh my god, like this is really good. Like, what else have you done about the Dracula thing?" And we were like, you know, maybe we should get together and do something. And like, it's nice when someone creative gets involved and says like, let's work on something. And then we hooked up with someone who was trying to get a steampunk project going. So we were doing a lot of calls on a Monday, and there just seemed to be a thing happening. So like I got frustrated, Todd was getting frustrated. And I did some hard work. I was coming back with some plot ideas and story ideas, and like I was creating a universe, and Todd was like, "Okay, cool, can we do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool, that fits over there." And then one day, like we had possibly the worst reference call ever, where like everyone was just not on the same page. And Todd had brought his artwork in, and Todd was like, "We can do this," and I was like, "Yeah, that's great, because then I can do this with Russia," because we were changing the names of countries. And then I just remember me and Todd just didn't speak. We were like, "All right, forget it," and we were done. And then a couple of months later, Todd got back to me about the Dracula script, and we were still talking. And then I think like I was going through some stuff, like personal stuff, and I'm not going to write anymore. So he would drop artwork every once in a while. Then literally, this was about a year. And then Todd just dropped me this message and was just like, "Can I just ask you this question? Like, why aren't you writing anymore? He goes, like, I'm working with some people, and like, hands down, like, you know, your style of writing is very different from these guys, and I'd like to work with you. And he goes, like, I'm finishing off this with, like, correct me, Todd, was it Charlton you were working with?
Charlotte and Neo
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
working
And
with
an
Paul
image
Kupperberg.
of Ignition, but I think it was called Burning Man at the time. And like, whatever happened on Todd's end taking place, and I know that Todd had managed to walk away with the design of Burning Man, and he said, "I want to do something with this character." I was like, "Okay, cool. What's the power?" Tell me a bit about the visual of this, and I was like, "Okay, cool. What should we do?" So we went through a couple of names. I remember for a while it was called Igniter, and then Todd was like, "I think that we should go for this type of story. Let's try and get it back to where it doesn't have to be like dark and gritty. Not everything has to be Watchmen." And then, well, I was like, "Okay, cool. Like, this gets me excited because I like James Robinson's style, like Starman. I like Jeff Jones' run when he started a JSA again, and I've always been a big fan of like All Star Squadron. And then we were like, let's just build something. So we literally just started cobbling together Ignition and adding things and seeing where we can go. And then it just ramped up in the last 6 months, 6, 7, 8 months, top end. And then this is where we are. This is where we are at the moment.
Awesome. Well, let me take a moment. I'm not going to try to steal Todd's thunder, but Booster has joined and Hillel has joined. So welcome to the panel, Hillel and Booster. Say hello to the folks.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
What's up?
What's up?
How you doing, Hillel? How you doing, Booster?
Good.
So that was good. Go ahead, Todd. Sorry.
Yeah, we tried to start a few things here and there, and he's everything he told you is true, and we had a really bad day, and we were working with a girl who was a cosplayer, and she was looking at the art saying, "Oh, you can't be that, you can't show that much cleavage," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Every picture you have of you that I've ever seen is you way out there, like way out there." So I'm like, where's this? Like, I didn't understand where she was coming from. It really threw me because I checked out right that moment when she started saying, you have to have this be clean and you have to have this. I'm like, why would I, and I didn't even think, this is before I knew anything about SJW, anything, right? I don't know nothing about SJW. I have no clue what the heck's going on with society and trying to lower breast sizes in comics and stuff like that. I'm like completely clueless. So I'm like, this girl is a cosplayer and she hasn't done anything where she wasn't showing every ounce of cleavage she has. So I was just like, what the hell? I didn't get it. I didn't get where she was coming from.
I remember, Todd, like you were saying, like, you were going like, okay, if I could just base the main character off of your image. And at first she was like, yeah. And then she was like, no, maybe we can change that. And then you came back and you said, like, maybe we can make the lead character like a Japanese.
Right.
And then she was like, no. And we were both like, why not? Like, it doesn't matter. Then you came up with the idea about her sword was sentient, like her sword was alive or something. And she was like, no, that doesn't really fit into the steampunk. And we were like, okay, cool. We both don't know enough about steampunk. Give us a guide. And then they were like, nah, just research it yourselves. Like, please, just help.
Disgraceful.
Like,
Who is this cleavage cosplayer? Where can I find her? So I can be outraged.
She's actually, you know what? She's very more popular than Ren. I'll tell you that. She has a much bigger following.
That doesn't take much.
Yeah.
No, I mean
huge
her
following.
following is pretty huge. Yeah, you know,
Because we were
What
trying to
about
work
her boobs?
out
Are they?
if we got a percentage. If we
huge.
got
I
a
said
percentage
huge.
of her readership,
Huge.
it would be good.
But we've tried some other projects too, and talked about other ideas, and they would sort of go in a place where, um, you know, I don't know if I was some of it I wasn't comfortable, and it was, you know, I there's obviously dark and gritty in tone. Well, when we first started talking, was really it,
Hmm.
you know. It's changed now. I mean, now it's all light and they're hugging all the time and they're, you
Yeah.
know, and it's surprising because it's like, holy crap. When we started talking a couple years ago, I didn't want to do dark and gritty. I wanted to do, I wanted the fights to be during the daytime. I wanted a bit of Spider-Man to be part, you know, sort of it like, you know, Peter Parker has 100 problems, but being Spider-Man isn't one of them. Kind of idea.
Hmm.
We've said
Right.
that a few times. So, you know, ignition wasn't easy. I just created a little box, right? I created a little box and I said, I want to feel like if I could give this to a 12-year-old and be okay. I could give it to
Yeah.
anybody and be okay. Because comics weren't, you know, they kept going and they sort of grew with their audience, but nothing. They didn't go changing things about them. You know, they didn't go started let's steer it this way. Oh, the audience is getting older, so let's start steering it. You know, it really, um, it's being steered more now than it was then. Now, granted, you had gray characters, right? Gray became a big thing, right? From the '90s
Hmm.
on, gray was huge. So I wanted to do not so gray. I wanted the hero to be, you know, I mean, his problems could be gray, but I wanted him to be a little, not so much a Boy Scout, but a little bit more of a, you know, he had altruistic kind of qualities, you know, and now it's sort of warped a little bit past that because, well, he can tell you. We'll get to those questions too, but if anyone else here has any questions, you know, because you guys of all these guys have talked to me plenty of times, but this is the first time
Yeah.
we get to do this with Leon, and I want him to talk. I'll just sit here and talk to the chat.
Leon, I got a
Yeah.
question. How is it
Okay.
working with Todd?
You can be honest, Leon. By the way, don't.
Yeah.
Give us all the
It's been
juicy
hard.
details. All the juicy ones.
Oh, it's the worst. Nah, it's the problem I got is I want Todd. I want to see more of Todd's work, like all the time. Like if I go a week and I don't see anything, I'm kind of like, the fuck is he doing? Come on, like I want to see it because when he shows me stuff, I'm like, oh my god, yes. And when I don't see it, I get kind of pissed off. Like,
Yeah.
but then when I do see it, I'll pour over it. I'm looking at the way he's deciphered the script. Does it make me want to rewrite the page? I'm like, oh shit, no, because I've seen that. I want to add that. I just want more from him. It's greedy. I just want him to be like, have a couple of clones, all have the same skill set, and they all draw a page each, and then like books are out each week.
Okay.
And that's it. I mean, like me and Todd, we've had words before, and then we always have to go, you have to understand that I'm only arguing with you because I want the best project ever. Like, and that's it.
Right. Well, those days that he's not being productive, I've taken a lot of blame for that. You know, so I apologize that I have caused you some discomfort, Leon. It wasn't meant at you, you know, but there have been days that people have accused me of being overly rough with Todd, you know, but I actually do like the guy. He's a good guy, you know, means well, good hearted, and all that good stuff. So I apologize that the days he didn't draw because of the grief he was suffering at my hands had caused you grief, Leon. I don't like
It's just a
collateral
brief
damage. I like precision strikes. No collateral damage allowed.
I see. That's good. That's good to know. But I mean, like, when Todd read my Dracula script, like he got back to me real quick, and he was like, "Oh man, if I had time, I would draw this." All right, and it's lovely to hear someone saying that about your work. And bear in mind, like the editor or the company I was writing for at the time, I received no feedback, and I was like, this is bullshit. I'm not happy with this. Like, because you kind of need that feedback, don't you? Like, as you're going through the process. Like, I got no feedback when I came up with the idea, no feedback when I handed in plot lines, no feedback when I gave him first drafts. And then Todd's there, and then like within hours. So the guy must have got it, read it, absorbed it, and got straight back to me. And I kind of like that. So whenever I get art from him, I do the exact same thing. I'll stop what I'm doing, see what's going on, look at it. Like, I love the way that he draws, and this is such a silly thing, like textures of clothing. Like, that's not an easy thing to capture in like artwork, but he gets it, and I'm like, oh man, that's some good shit. I need more. I want to see that.
Right.
And like issue 1 of Ignition is primarily set up for the rest of the things that's going on. Right, and he's going through it, and like when I'm writing it, I'm trying to write and get involved in the characters, and I'm like, this is the friendship, and this is the potential villain, and this is a red herring, and this is what this is. And then Todd just said a very simple message. He was like, "Man, I'm 10 pages in, no one's thrown a punch yet," and I'm like, in my head, I know that in issue 3 is like a big fight, and I'm like, shit, man, I got to make it intro. Because whilst it's lovely to look at, sitting down and drawing someone talking over a meal can't be that draw. I've ramped up the action because I played. And with that, I then went back to what we originally said. And I'm like, he's not asking for anything outlandish. I said to him, we'll keep the pace flowing and going. And then I'm there sitting there writing a 4-page coffee chat. So I had to change things like that. But it's nice. It's nice that someone's pointing things out like that to you, because otherwise it'll be an 8-issue run of people just talking.
Yeah, we don't want that. Like,
no one wants that.
I don't want that. I'm pretty sure Todd doesn't want that. And most of the people in this community, they want that escapism, those fun comics that have action packed, a little bit over the top, but not so much, but I'm doing a lot of talking. Denali is a good person to answer that question. Denali, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, Ortiz.
Hey, man.
Hey, Liam. So yeah, no. I mean, I think for anything talking about action-packed and talking, there's a difference between, talking to move forward the plot and then talking for the sake of talking. And there's also action where, there's action that propels the plot, and then there's action that it's just filler action. And you can tell, and the reader can tell, when you're just phoning it in compared to when you're actually saying, okay, this fight actually means something. Like a fight that would come up to my mind right now would be kind of like speaking like Invincible with Kurtman, where he's fighting, a significant person, and that fight means something because it's propelling the action, and that's kind of what we want to see. What does this fight, or how does this fight develop the character as as a superhero, as a person? How does that affect him and his surrounding relationship? Is this a fight that he has to work?
Yeah, there's a lot of relationship building, because there's like, for a while, even though he's not nowhere near my favorite character, like Spider-Man has got a very established cast of characters, and he has a very good, when the right writer has got him, his relationship with Aunt May or MJ or whoever is brought back to life now is with him. You're like, oh, okay, that's really good. Right? Or Brian Michael Bendis, when he wrote Ultimate Spider-Man, some of his better issues were the one when no action was taking place, and it was Peter at school, or with Aunt May, or with Harry, talking about Norm. like those are fantastic, and that's what I loved. I loved those issues. But I guess for Mark Bagley to draw it, he must have been, oh, come on, Brian, man, let me just draw Dr. Octopus once. But it was all you build up the characters because at some point there's got to be a consequence of something, and you want to get that emotional heft going. And I think it's important to get that thing through. So it's great. And whilst it's like a bit of a slog for the first issue 6, when something's happening, especially to Ignition, you're going to feel it more. Because if every single issue was 22 pages of fighting, you'd be like, not much else going on. I don't really care about this character. And I kind of want you to care about the character. I want you to, once you've gotten past like how great like Todd's artwork is, and people sit down going, oh, wait, no, there's actually something going on. There's emotional content. And emotional content is a tough thing to get through. So, you know, it's a slow build and there's a balance going on. But I'm glad Todd is not scared, or not really scared, because there's a different time zone between us. For him to point out things like that from artist's point of view, which sometimes writers will forget to do, because they're sitting there going like, oh, I'm writing this stuff, I'm doing God's work here. And you sometimes you just want to see someone get punched through a wall or someone flying over a city. You need that. Otherwise, I might as well just write a novel.
No, absolutely. I think the best way to think about it, and kind of like where you're talking about that balance, the best kind of balance that I've seen going on with Spider-Man is the Spider-Man 2. It balanced, you know, it connected Peter with Doc Ock, you know, kind of like a mentor figure. And then because of the accident, you know, where Peter turned right with his tragedy, Doc Ock turned left. And it kind of informs each other. They mirror each other, basically, because they both have the intelligence to do good for both of the worlds. But one decided, you know, be selfish, and the other one to be kind informed with his with his responsibility to be unselfish, even though in the beginning, even though the caveat Spider-Man was, you know, the whole wrestling thing and not stopping the guy, but that's part of his whole tragic moment of growth. And you kind of feel it that, you know, towards the end, he's trying to save Doc Ock, because even though they fought, it was a fight of ideologies. You know, he's trying to show what he can do, and the way that the execution of that intention was bad. It would harm people. So that's always the best types of, you know, drama, both in, you know, talking points and also in fighting points, where it informs the reader, you know, here's the stakes, here's what's going to happen, and you're invested not just on the hero side, but on the villain side, because the villains is helping the hero grow and learn something about themselves. And, you know, and that's always the best kind of villains, and that's always the best kind of drama, whether it's, you know, just talking or fighting. Is how does that inform the reader about the character? What does that, you know, what decisions that mean about the hero? You know, what are we informed? What is your intention as a writer to do that? And that's always the best part, when, you know, we get, oh, the writer is intending this, and it's shown by the actions of the artist conveyed, you know, in imagery kind of deal.
Yeah. And I think Spider-Man is a better example of that, because a lot of characters have tried that, and it doesn't quite capture the same, it doesn't resonate in the same way. And I think when Ditko and Lee put Spider-Man down, they were like, okay, this is what we have to do. And he's got all these villains, and they're tied to him in some way, shape, or form. I think Spider-Man is a solo character. You get a good balance, because you get to see Peter Parker develop as himself, as he develops as Spider-Man. Then the villain comes along, and there's always that, like, every person you speak to potentially becomes his next big villain. And Spider-Man is a big rogues gallery. But I do think Doc Ock, he didn't start off having a tragic background, but as he delved into it, he got more and more. But then, surprisingly, he became the best version of Spider-Man when he took over Peter's body. And that was, I tell you, that was the only time in recent years where I actually paid attention to Spider-Man. I was like, let me just see what's happening over here. Because I thought, oh, the villain makes a better Spider-Man than Spider-Man. And I think that was one of the reasons why I've never been a massive fan. Because I was...
Well, I'll tell you that I've never been a big fan of Spider-Man just because I always felt he was a little bit whiny. I mean, the man's good. He can lift a car. Oh, poor me, I'm Spider-Man. He's married Mary Jane. He's like a supermodel. Oh, poor me, I'm Spider-Man. It's just that he never quits complaining. And May's got a heart condition. She could explode at any moment. Oh, poor me.
She wouldn't go.
Well, there's a question I want to read to you, by the way, from the chat, and it's do you have a set of adversaries for Ignition as the series continues, like Spider-Man has Green Goblin, Kingpin, Kraven, etc.? And me and you have talked about this a lot, about nothing makes a book better than the villains, okay? Because then, they always talk about stories sort of write themselves. Your character starts to take on a life and he starts to write himself. And if you don't have good villains, then you don't have the room for that character to sort of outshine them. Maybe they take, maybe he loses a little bit and then he wins. And that's all key to building, all wicked key to actually building a good character. Because you can't win all the time. And we have that.
No. It's good that they learn, and with the learn comes the evolution of character, and that's fine. Yeah, we got some villains. We got what we got in issue 1. We got the Alpha. There's like our version of a Hulk, but he's been the Alpha for a good couple of decades. So if he was around now, he is like in his 80s, which Ignition actually addresses up front, and he lets him know. He's like, I will fight an old man. Like, you need to stop what you're doing. You got him. You got Dragon Circle, which pops up. And then you got Nicholas Simon, who is... I just flat out stole the origin of Captain America. He's not Captain America at all. He takes on board that there is no war, and he was used as a guinea pig, and he's going to become better than his circumstances, and he operates himself and further, and he's a self-proclaimed agent of chaos, and he just wants things because he likes the chaos. We got Hollow Point, which Todd brought to the table. And ironically, I was like, I don't really understand this. And then Todd drew a version of him with a beard. And I was like, oh, no, now I get it. The character's got this and this going on in the back of his head. Rapid. We got Rapid. I like Rapid. And who else we got? We got someone else.
Well, you said earlier that something that was key was Spider-Man is a solo character. Now he's got a goddamn multiverse of multiple Spider-Mans. But the best book, some of the times when the best books were like that one book he got to hang out with Johnny Storm, or that one book that he hung out with so-and-so. It's way too much because he is a solo character. Now he's carrying the weight of female spiders and young Miles Morales, and it's just like, holy crap.
Well, they run out of ideas what to do with him. That's the problem, is they don't know what to do with the guy. He's 50 years old.
They've got versions. They've got newer versions of Spider-Man done slightly better. Miles Morales, I feel, was a better thought-out version of Spider-Man. And then I've not read anything with Spider-Gwen. I refuse to. Who else? I mean, I'm not a fan of Drew. I've never understood it. I like the idea of Madam Web. And they've got some remnants of the Clone War, Clone Saga. Oh, no.
Ben Reilly, yeah.
All I know to them, I never been brave of Marvel if they actually said it is the real Spider-Man. Peter Parker's actually the clone. And they just let Peter just go off and Ben Reilly take over because he could start it from scratch. and that could have been a reboot within its own title and just go in his own direction. But they didn't, and now you got like the Spider-Punk and all of this. I'm just gonna flip out.
It kind of made me check out, check out of the Spider-Man stuff because it's not really anything meaningful. They have the character in a Arrested Development that he's still in a college age mentality, and he's like, I understand that it's a transitional phase, where you're still a kid but you're kind of an adult and you have all these real life problems happening. I know that was the intent for Stan Lee. It's like, how much more problem can we get this guy, continuing on, to kind of keep him interested, because that's the case. But after like 30 years, around the 90, after the Clone Saga, there hasn't been any meaningful, actually there's been some regressions on his development character. For example, I could say One More Day. How many Spider-Man lows that because it's a regression of Peter Parker right there. You basically told him, I am not going to be an adult. I can't handle death, that eventually comes to my loved one. Instead of being like how Superman handled Paul Kent's death, by accepting it and knowing that people die, he goes out of his way to seal a deal with the devil, so to speak, and loses his wife, loses his self, and loses everything. If his Aunt May knew what he gave up to keep her alive, he would have told him, "You're an idiot, Peter. You should have let me die because you're supposed to grow up. MJ is your family now. I was here to honor you, to raise you, and I didn't raise you to be fearful of the future without me. That means I did a bad job if you have to make a deal with the devil to revive me."
Yes, May, you did a terrible job. You're 110. You should just fade off into the night. I thought it's because no one knows what to do with Peter Parker now. I think in the comic book war, when he Tony Stark and took on the Iron Spirit, you're as smart as him. What are you doing? Like, why would he make that? I just checked that completely. He did nothing of sense.
A booster. Hey, you got any questions?
I do have a question, but I have only been paying half attention, so you have to excuse me for this question. Who actually came up with the idea of Ignition out of Todd and Leon? Whose character is this?
I brought the visual. Yeah, I brought the visual design and sort of an idea behind him. And now that's changed. Leon has changed it. He actually changed it into something. I hope somebody asked, because you've heard me talk about Ignition being sort of a cosmic character, but he's street level now. But where he heads is very big, and that's all on Leon. He saw the potential of the character, like when he asked about the powers, and I was like, he's not Johnny Storm. He's more like a combination of Johnny Storm, Green Lantern. He can control his fire in different ways.
So he's Quasar.
Almost.
Quasar doesn't really use fire like that. I mean,
but he has the Marvel Gauntlet, and he does cosmic, but he's also street level when needed.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
in that sense. I guess you're trying to appeal to Todd. Did you do something bad to Todd that you're trying to appeal to his good side or something? But anyway, Leon has really warped or changed and reimagined the idea to make.
So he's your Frank Miller.
Well, no, I wouldn't say he's that. He's way better.
He's your Frank Miller to your Daredevil. Is what I mean.
Oh, okay, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
But so, I'll let him speak more about that.
I have a question about. I'm wondering, are there any plans at any point to give him like a sidekick or something at some point? I kind of miss sidekicks in comics.
It won't be with Ignition, no.
Oh, okay.
But he has a mentor. He will have a mentor at some point. An older guy who's
so Ignition will be the sidekick.
It will literally
Not
like
necessarily.
not sidekick. He won't be an everyday interim because he just needs to be told something, and then he sort of hangs out with this guy. A variation of kind of the same power. So he was a hero in the 50s. No, sorry, he was a villain, reformed, and then quit the whole capes and tights life at the moment. And I described him to Todd as Robert De Niro's character in Jackie Brown. So he's just got this sort of shambling look about him. He's happy with just sitting down, watching his game shows, and like he uses his powers for his own use, like flying to the store, picking up his groceries, flying back. That's the most he's going to do. Doesn't give a shit about what's going on. But then he gets a call from an old friend, and he speaks to Ignition. So his name is Morgan, and he's a grumpy guy. He's a grumpy, but there is a backstory to him which we delve into, and when you read it, it's actually quite bad. It's actually quite tragic, and that's his reaction because he doesn't know what else to do, and he's brave enough to continue with his life rather than do something dramatic like fight someone on a Galactus level. He just carried on with his day badly. But there'll be other people who will have a sidekick, and that'll be questioned. Like, why are you taking a kid into a war? That makes no sense to me.
Does
Does
Ignition have a love interest or any kind of human character that grounds him into reality?
I think he likes kiwis.
He likes who?
He's joking. He was talking about Booster being a Kiwi.
Yeah, Ignition's in issue 1. His best friend is introduced. He's got a friend from when they were kids. Her name's Francine. She's there to ground him. They're literally just best friends. I'm toying with the idea that Ignition's got an ex out there somewhere, and when they get in contact with him, it sort of throws his day.
I'm going to make the ex one of the villains.
No. just a chick. Like, even I thought about that and I thought, that's too cliche. But I'm not above the cliche of the dad of best friend being a villain, because that's always good.
I would like to know how. I mean, this seems to happen in comics where one person gets superpowers and suddenly you discover everyone in their orbit has superpowers or is about to get superpowers. I mean, it really is kind of a event of convenience, I guess, just that suddenly everyone's got superpowers.
She won't get superpowers.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought the same thing. I thought, that's very convenient. Because everyone in Spider-Man's orbit. Wait, has J. Jonah Jameson? No, he wore that suit of armor one time. Everyone in Spider-Man's orbit gets powers. You got to be a mutant to be in the X-Men's wheelhouse. Everyone who hangs out with Captain America then all of a sudden becomes super patriotic, and they learn all these martial arts in the space of a couple of weeks, and then they become part of it. So no, things like that. But, no, even Shazam, they did that, didn't they? Everyone he spoke to got Shazam's powers.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, right. Mary Marvel.
Mary Marvel. I mean, the only one who didn't have any powers was Uncle Dudley, who for some reason, even though he was a very advanced in age and very overweight, still wore red spandex. But he got
powers as well, didn't he?
Oh, originally he didn't have powers. Originally he just dressed up like everybody.
point they went like, we might as well help him out. Like, what's he gonna do? He's so scared. Didn't his pet tiger get powers as well?
Tawny the tiger? I thought he was just a talking tiger.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
He has the power to make cornflakes and add sugar to them and say it's great.
Oh, yeah, that's what he did. He utilized it for marketing. He's a marketing genius.
Yeah.
He's
so now that they've changed his name from Captain Marvel to Shazam, what does everybody yell out whenever they're to get their powers?
Well,
I think they've got to mean it for the Shazam to work. So if they say it in the middle of a sentence, like, so Shazam got it, but like if you stand there and do your pose and say Shazam, there's the inflection of the con. I just thought, just call him Captain Marvel. We all love it. Everyone's got it. Everyone's got Captain Marvel.
Unfortunately, the courts disagree. That's why Marvel won the rights to call their character Captain Marvel, and the real Captain Marvel has to be named Shazam.
So what do they call Captain Marvel Jr. now? Is he just Shazam Jr.?
Yeah, might be because he can't use Marvel Boy because that's a Marvel name now.
Imagine how long until the Shazam app sues his name Shazam out of existence, even though that came first.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
There's a question I want to ask in the chat, and I want to flip through some pictures here. Wait, how do I get back there? Somebody asked, talk about the evolution of how Ignition has gone from what it was to what it is. And I think, without getting in Leon's head, he saw some images that he sort of keyed in on and realized, well, for us to go from what we have, here's sort of what you see from the beginning. Is this image right here of him with his mask, and he has a costume, a very superhero costume. So for him to go to this middle image, there's obviously something that transpires. So I think Leon saw some of these images, and including this one where you see his skull sort of being so hot that you can see it through him, like, almost coming, like you can see through him and you can see his skull. But you also, if you look closer, you can still see him. So he's really come up with some really a really neat way to make a lot of this work and get us from that point A image, obviously, to this middle image to then further on, and that's sort of leveling up. But I'll let him talk about how he came, where he thought about that and what he came up with. Go ahead and tell him about the evolution of where we began with our Ignition and where we are now.
Right. Okay. So we start with a costume, as the traditional superhero costume, and I'm sitting there going, "What's his like?" So it's flame based, and then Todd was like, and at some point I want him to be able to do constructs like with the flame. And then I'm thinking, like, what if it isn't actually fire, but that's what his brain can, the energy that he's producing, that's the closest thing that he can do it to, because that's the way his head works. And then I was thinking, because you were saying about Human Torch and Green Lantern, and I said to you, oh, like Alan Scott. Because he, at one point, they were like, or mystical, and that's the green flame. I was like, okay, cool, that's good. And then I was even throwing the idea of making Ignition, his powers derived from a space dragon or something like that. And then I was like, I like the idea that he's in costume, and then there's another picture where he's his head's actually on fire, so his whole body's on fire. Then the skeletons, you can see skeleton through his skin. I'm powering up, and he's leveling up, almost like a Digimon. And I was thinking, like, this guy's got to be.
Digital monsters.
Oh, everyone loves Digimon.
Monsters.
So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, like, how powerful can I get this guy? Like, and for it to make sense for me to write. And then, as always, I go back to the origin. I know, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what if he's not even human? Like, then we can start messing about with a lot of things. Like, is he an alien? And I thought, no, we've got to think bigger than that. Like, I was sitting there, I was thinking, like, Todd wants to draw spectacle, right? And I want him to do it. And I want you guys to read it and go, like, oh, shit, that's taken place, right? And I thought, you know, what if he, where he can blow up a moon or, like, incinerate a planet? And I go, what can get him there? Then I start thinking about cosmic end. Let's get him to where if he went up and you think, okay, this fight is going to destroy planets, all right? And then I was thinking, what if he was actually a sentient sun that had siphoned off a piece of itself to interact with humanity because it's quite nosy, all right? And that's where we are, all right? And imagine trying to get the ocean into a thimble, because that's basically what that sun would have to do to interact with humanity. So his powers is downgraded so much because he's not there yet. He's got all this power into his body, but he can't access it because he physically can't control. He physically wouldn't be able to withstand his own powers. So he has to develop and he has to grow. So there's a couple of issues where things happen to him. I think there's one issue where he gets shot, and then he's healed within the next issue. But then he doesn't understand why, and he has no memory of being a sentient sun, or he doesn't have memory of being a sun. He doesn't understand what it is. It's just things are happening around him, and then part of the mystery will be how does he get from this guy who's basically flying around a city to defending an entire galaxy, and that's where we are. And that's who he has become.
It's his intellect. I mean, being a sentient sun, that gives you the scope of magnitudes, and you think his intellect would be far beyond anything a human being could have. Does that translate into his human body, or is
no, that doesn't translate. Yeah, he's not being exposed to what he was when he was in his original form. So he's got an understanding. So he's quite a calm guy. Right, but he understands everything, and there's a lot of intuition with him. So buried deep inside him, he understands the yearning for travel, and he just assumes that he just likes to travel the Earth, but it's not. It's further out, and when he's exposed to things, he has an intuitive understanding of it, pretty much like Superman. Like Superman can see the aura of people, but doesn't understand really what he was actually looking at until he gets a little bit older, a little bit wiser, then you can understand more and more how far we take him. I mean, like I was saying to Todd yesterday, if he went back to his original form, because his original form is still out there, like, will he then just swallow himself and gain an understanding of what it's like to walk on a planet with evolved monkeys? Like, or will he just be so minute? Will it just sort of go, oh yeah, I kind of understand, and just carry on doing whatever he's doing? Are there other versions of himself out there? Has this sun split itself off to other planets? Is there like an alien version of Ignition out there, kind of doing the same thing but become a dictator? This is all the fun that we've got coming ahead.
Interesting. That sounds really good. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, we want to get him to the point where, like, how many of you guys have read All-Star Superman?
Yeah, I read it. Yeah,
yes, that's one of my absolute favorites. Absolutely, my favorite Superman story as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's about 5 Superman stories that I'm in love with, and that is without a doubt the top. But I remember the end where Superman basically goes, well, I'm too powerful, I can't retain my human form, I've become pure information, I'm going to go and live in the middle of the sun. I was like, that's where Ignition's going to get to as well. He's just going to be fly through a sun with no problems whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about getting him there.
Superman. Oh man.
Of course, this is all sounding a little bit like Nuclear Man from Superman 4.
Oh, what a great character! Nails.
Sun poisoning.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that he was created because Superman threw a bunch of nukes into the sun.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
And he became what, a human nuclear man. Oh, incredible.
They
Incredible.
could have done so much with that character. They could have been a really great comic character. I wish they would do something with him.
I keep thinking, like, I'm waiting for Jeff Jones to do something. Like, go on, Jeff, go and do it. But he hasn't touched it, and now he's left. He's like, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Ah,
I know.
I would love to see it.
See,
It
back when Luthor was the president, I always thought, this would be a great time for him to create Nuclear Man. That could be like his #1 bodyguard.
Yeah.
Like
that you got Captain Atom instead.
Yeah, which is not as nearly as interesting. But anyway, sorry, us from the topic.
Now, our idea, as far as there's sort of a difference between Indiegogo campaign and finding a publisher, we wanted Indiegogo 2 main features, meaning that the book, if it were on the stand, you'd see a 22-page feature story and a 10-page backup, right? If we can get it to that point, that's what you would get. Then what we're going to Indiegogo is the feature. So you would get issue 1 and issue 2 in the very first time that he appears like that. Now, that's the idea. But obviously you want to get to that point where, it'd be great to have a publisher, and so doing 32 pages, if I were to do all 32 pages, doesn't mean that we wouldn't bring in another artist to do the backup or whatever. But we could realistically only do about 8 books a year, but that's not bad. But that's why we're kind of looking to sort of hit the ground running. But we obviously don't. Our plan isn't to campaign every issue or not. We may only do the first 2. Like, you would get 4 issues, basically the feature from 4, and that would be it. I don't really see anything campaigning beyond that, because that's really not. We're not crowdfunding a book every quarter.
Now, Todd, I understand you got a lot of irons in the fire. Like, so when can we expect to see the first issue of Ignition?
It's a good question, because even Leon asked me that the other day. But realistically, if I get through everything, I basically put myself in this situation where I have paid work that I'm doing. I have projects like you guys all know about, Tales from Beyond the Gate.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad that John had to drop out. But every one of you know all about it, and some of you are even involved with it. And that was, that
soon, Todd.
and that was sort of the first thing that pushed it a little bit further. And then, of course, I won the talent search for Graveyard Shift 2, so that pushes it a little further. So realistically, we begin drawing Graveyard Shift 2 February 1st, because there's sort of tiers of being able to earn more money, and it's structured that way.
But also, you also get you out there. Get you some notoriety and.
Stopping and pushing off Ignition is the best thing that even Leon realizes will be the biggest thing that we can do, because it'll put me in sort of better exposure, mass exposure, with the Graveyard Shift 2. So anyway, we I don't think I'll be done. Like, I'll have to do the Graveyard Shift, and I don't even think I'll be done with all of the Tales from Beyond the Gate. But doing the 20 pages that I'm supposed to do, I only have to ink. I think I can realistically do them in 30 days. So if we start February 1st, I would end, by the end of February, and then get back to Tales from Beyond the Gate and make sure that I hit that April date of having the campaign come to an end, because it's going to campaign for 2 months.
Okay.
So that being said, so February. So now we're looking at getting back to, I'm on like page 12 or 13. Well, actually, I have a double page in there. So we're looking at getting back to it by the middle of April, and probably going into the up and coming by April. And so I don't know how many days they're allowing for you to be in up and coming on the Indie. And then we'll go from there to make sure that we're looking at May right now as sort of launch of campaign May.
Right.
Yeah, I was talking to Pixel the other day, and he was like minimum 3 months out. So he says there is no max date, but at least 3 months before launch date should be good to go. You know, just to give yourself time for people to see it.
Here's really where I'm at with all of this, because I know, right? You've heard me talk about this, right? I have not made any bones about this. There were campaigns that were funded without page one ever being drawn. That's not me, because by hook or by crook, Ignition's going into hands. Right?
How many of those guys had massive YouTube support though?
No,
like,
I get it.
Devious kind of support.
Right. I get it. Right.
Yeah.
But there's a concern today, right? They're all late. Every single one of them is late, right?
Well, of course.
So, are they hurting us? Are they hurting me? I'm worried, to be honest. But I will have more than 20 pages drawn by the time I press the button for launch campaign of Ignition. That's a guarantee. And you're only getting 40. You're only getting 40 story pages, or actually, wait, 44. So I'll be well past page 20 by the time I hit that launch button, and we're going. Because it doesn't fail or succeed. Doesn't matter. The book is gonna get completed. I have resources, like fallback resources, where it can be seen and can be purchased. It can be bought. I'm trying for better and more representation and stuff like that, but I do have the fallback resources. So,
how many pages are you willing to put as a preview on your Indiegogo page?
I've shown all the non-action pages, so
yeah. You might need a couple of action pages on that Indiegogo page to really spice it up. Yeah.
I think what you'll see is you know where to find 11 or so pages already, right? Or maybe about 10. So
yeah, I just go to your DMs and I just go, "Hey, Todd, show me it."
So you're going to see more. You'll see things you haven't seen, because what I want to do is color the action pages. So I'll actually have to, I'll be pretty far along that this is a surefire, definite thing that's going to happen. Because I'll be, I wouldn't want to put, I'm not going to put black and white up there. That's not me. I'm not campaigning a black and white book, right? So it's futile to actually do that. So you'll see me color, I'll have action pages there, and you'll see them colored. And you'll actually, and of course, what am I going to do? I'm going to pick the best pages, because every page I drew got better and better and better. And, my technique got better. And so you've seen already the worst of the worst. You're going to see the best of the best when you open up that campaign. And that's,
you sound like you're doing one of those wrestler monologues.
You see
the worst of the worst. Yeah, sound like you're.
I'm a son of a plumber, and
all right. Yeah, you're willing to put up color pages. What about lettered pages? Pages with dialogue and such.
See, that's a thing, because I can letter, and my plan is to. But what if I were to have a really successful campaign and everything's starting to look well? My best bet would be, actually, to be honest, if it looks like it's going to be successful, then I've been eyeing this colorist over on Hi-Fi Color in a Facebook group that I know could handle what I'm looking for without a doubt, and so I might even turn tables and like be willing to pay somebody, and then be willing to pay somebody a letter. But it isn't like I'm gonna go letter half arsed and do it. I've collected all the resources as far as if you guys don't know, Nate Picos has a Twitter, and he's always talking about the wrongs and the rights. Don't do this, don't do that. You've heard me talk about them. People do, James, the work I've been seeing from James Anderson looks great. But if you look at those bubbles, they're crossing over lots of artwork, and he really hasn't left. He hasn't left the space, right? The space where you can put the words. He's actually crammed it with people and heads and stuff. So he's really hurt himself. Now he has to throw bubbles over people. But I think he's taken some advice that we talked about on the campaign, and you're starting to see some better pages. I've seen him draw some good stuff. So I think conflict is really heading in the right way. But yeah, so it's not something I would do and go, I'm just going to wing it. I'm not going to wing it. That's not me. I'll actually I have resource to ask. Of course, we brought Eric Weathers in, right? We brought Eric Weathers into our group to be part of Tales from Beyond the Gate. And me and him have already talked about a rate and stuff like that. So I don't have any bones about failing. I want the book to be professional. I want it to look professional, be professional. And I want to be able to deliver more content to you. I'm not even talking about YouTube. I'm talking about books. I want to deliver to you as much as you can handle, as much as you're willing to buy. So I'll pass that over to him if need be, But yeah, if you want me to show lettered pages, if that's what you're getting at, I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, it's just the real struggle with an Indiegogo page is that dancing that balance between showing enough and showing too much, right? Because who's going to buy something if you show absolutely every single page on the Indiegogo, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I just bloody read it. Why am I going to buy this? Yeah. But if you don't show enough, right, or you just have absolutely no pages done, and you have a little banner or promotional banner saying, "Hey, look at this promise. This could get done one day, maybe." That's rubbish as well. I like what Zach did with Jawbreakers. He put up about 15 pages in order as well. Yeah, I thought that was quite good. It got us a really good idea of what we were gonna get.
Right, and that's possible. I would just have to pick the right pages. Again, you've seen a lot of them, and then you've only seen them a certain way. So yeah, it's possible. I could move them.
If you're able to, I'd say put up 15 or so pages of the sequential work, right, in order, but then leave it at a nice good cliffhanger. That's what Zach did with Iron Sights. He gave us a good preview, but then left it at a cliffhanger. So you had to buy it if you wanted to see more. I thought that was quite clever.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, when I actually go to build this campaign and do it, it's going to be something we're going to do on Fanspeak. So you'll be a part of it, and you can bug me all you want that day too.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'll give you all sorts of crap because I know you'll love it.
But let's get back to Leon, because really that's, this is the first time we've been able to get him going and get him on here. And as much as I like talking about Ignition, I haven't really given you much. I've wanted to let him. I left enough room to let him talk about it, and now you're seeing the scope and the idea that we have, and you're seeing where it's headed. Now we have somebody asked earlier about some great characters, and I talked about all the books being, for a while a lot of books had a lot of great characters as sort of their hero. Now granted, our hero isn't gray, but we have some great characters. Why don't you tell them about the Mighty?
Talk. I just want to say adios. I've got to go to bed. It's 2 over here. So
I appreciate you coming. Hello, thank you very much.
No, I loved it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some stuff more stuff for Ignition.
Thank you.
Really exciting voice.
Thank you.
Exciting concept. Yeah. All right.
Appreciate it. Hello.
Yeah.
Good night. Yeah. Why don't you tell them about the Mighty? Because the Mighty's arc, because they've heard me talk about heroin. There was a period of heroin. There was a period of tights and capes, and then there was a sort of a period where there wasn't.
A period of trench coats. Yeah. So the Mighty is old style. Like, I don't know. Do you guys know about? So Crisis on Infinite Earths. Sorry. So he had like Earth
Yeah,
1 and Earth 2 Superman. Right?
Yeah.
So Mighty comes from that sort of era. Very old, but he ages slower because of his power. But basically, what he can do, he can just control the density of his body. Like he can become light as air or as heavy as anything. Like he can become heavy enough so the Earth won't support him, and he'll just keep going through. All right, pretty much like the Vision. But he doesn't obviously have a solar gem, not a mind gem. I don't understand that. All right, and he's seen as like the Superman. Like everyone loves him. He knows exactly what to say in a crowd. Social media love him, even though he doesn't have any platform like that. And he's now the leader of the premier super team in the Ignition verse called the Parliament. But the backup story takes place before, like decades ago, and it shows a more immature version of the Mighty. This is a guy who was jealous of someone for being in a relationship with a female member of his team, and he does something that leads to her death. Like he doesn't mean to, but that's what just takes place. And then he realizes he has to do more. I told you the idea of him being a villain, but as I was writing him and getting more and more when I was plotting the backup stories, I was realizing he's not really a villain, and it doesn't suit him to be a villain in hiding anymore. He's just a guy who matures slower than others. He's emotionally immature, and I like that idea that his first reaction is to roll up his sleeves and want to beat someone up rather than like save someone and create a dialogue and find out what's going on. I like that, but I got that idea when I was reading the Ultimate, and especially when Mark Miller was writing it, and he had Captain America as quite a hothead and brutally violent man because he's a man of the 40s. And I thought, yeah, well, like, why would he all of a sudden know how to talk to people? He wouldn't. He'd be a guy from the 40s. He goes to the gym. He drinks his whiskey neat, like women are dames, and he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand people's sexualities. He doesn't understand different religions. I thought, oh, that'd be him. That's exactly what the Mighty is, and he's making a journey of trying to understand, and he's struggling. It's like asking your grandparents, like, what do they think of certain things? And you think, like, Jesus, why have they got such an old stance on understanding things? Because they know what they know, and it's not their generation, it's not their time anymore. And then he's just there. That's that. That's the Mighty.
So Willie Reed had a question. He says, Ignition, is there room for fan art in the book?
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh.
Yeah, Todd, do you want to have my fan art in there?
No.
You know what? Well, considering who asked the question, I'd have to say yes because I really like Willie's work.
All right, Todd, I'll get to work on an Ignition just for you. You could put that in the book.
Okay, as long as there's no oil. But Willie's work is really good, and I've been trying to pull him in, and because we see him in our chats and stuff, and a lot of different shows, and get him more involved and get him on here because I've looked at a lot of his work and I like it. He's got nice, clean lines and very sort of over the top style as far as like it has less is more. You know, and it has that sort of cartoony vibe to it, and I really like that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really good, and he sort of has some things I've seen that are also a little bit different than that. You know, so he has some range.
I mean, like yesterday we were talking about like the possibility of expanding the universe and doing like kind of spin-offs or parallel stories. So if anybody was out there and they've got strong sequential artwork, we could definitely look at like adding more things to the plate and really expanding this universe and making it become something. So I just want people to know that option is out there.
Yeah, because Leon now has to wait for me. You know, he kind of almost walked away from all this. You know, and I'll be honest, his version of Dracula in those scripts put Dracula to sort of modern times and absolutely the best. Now, granted, vampires are ruined for a while by the nonsense, but his Dracula is almost like, you know, he's handsome, he's debonair, he's a ladies' man.
Yeah,
and
so it was the idea was that every time Dracula was killed or staked and put on hibernation till he reincarnates, he comes back a little bit different. All right, so this time he comes back, but like one of the drawbacks is I'll say drawback, he doesn't have the thirst for blood, and he's still strong enough to walk out in daylight, and he looks like Tom Hardy, so that can't be bad. And then it's basically just seeing what he'd be doing now. So he's just trying to get on. He's trying to actually, rather than be surrounded by blood and murder, he's just enjoying the fruits of labor. He's enjoying spending money. He's enjoying his time until something else happens and he may answer the call to it. And then there's he meets a girl and he's very intrigued by her, and he sort of introduces her to his world. His world of very boring running various portfolios and just spending a bit of money, and then other old vampire families have called for him to help make a decision because the vampire nation is split into 7. So Dracula's got his 1/7 of the ruling class, and he's got a deciding vote. Like, they're now sitting there and they're fed up and they're like, should we just slaughter humanity and get it over and done with and go to war? And then the other half are like, no, everything's working out the way it is. But there's a massive, the hidden agenda is that someone has made contact with another demon race, and the demon race, they're the ones who are actually going to do most of the slaughtering. And they're pushing for Dracula to actually lead them in a fight. And then things take place. And then sadly, Dracula's got to let go of the life that he's created now. And he's got to go to war. But he doesn't go to war for someone. He goes to war against everyone. So he creates his own third faction and just absolutely slaughters everyone in a hotel, which eventually is the lead up to the end. And then I had a sequel all planned.
I think it's really good how much information you're willing to divulge on the story, because so many people are very fickle and they go, "Ooh, it might be a spoiler. I don't want to talk about it." I've noticed that a few times with some campaigns.
I'm fine with it because I'm giving broad strokes. There's a lot of finite detail in there, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but also part of it, you got to sell it to people, right? And you're not going to really sell it to anyone if no one knows what they're buying into.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the elevator pitch was: imagine Tom Hardy as Dracula. That's it.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, yeah, I like that.
Like Tom Hardy. I'm like, yeah. I mean, Tom Hardy made Venom generate like $800 and something million. Venom, who hasn't been good since the 90s.
Yeah. Speaking of Tom Hardy, Chester's in the house.
Hello.
How you doing, Chester?
Chester is much taller than Tom Hardy.
Much taller and much more handsome as well.
And much more handsomer.
Is it possible?
Yeah. Oh, okay. A challenge. Well, hello, gentlemen.
How you doing? You sound like you got a cold.
Me? No, I'm all right. Long day yesterday, I guess. Probably what it was.
Yeah. So hey, Chester, this is Leon. Leon is Chester. This is the writer of Ignition. We've been talking and let people ask all kinds of questions about Ignition. Do you actually have any questions that you'd like to ask him?
Well, Ignition is not the same story he was just talking about, right?
No. Basically, what we were saying is I brought him back into writing comics, right? And said, don't give it up because you got some good work out there. Or you've shown me that you're better than a lot of people that I've worked with, because I've even worked with, professional people. So I said, I pulled him back in, and basically now he's waiting on me So he's willing to do more, and we were just saying that to the community. If there's somebody out there that wants to uh, start something up that would actually fit in the same universe, but that's what we were getting at by talking about Dracula, because
Oh, I see. Uh, well, yeah, I guess this universe would have to be laid out and detailed to me to know if I had anything to offer in that way. But I'm always interested in looking at writing new things and doing new stuff myself. But as far as a question uh, for Leon, I'd say that since I came in here late, I would guess would be how long you been doing this, Ben?
Oh man, years. I've written a fair few things. I first started, ironically, doing vampire versus werewolf story, and you could tell it was my first thing because I didn't have control over the size of what I was doing. So if I went back and wrote that story now, it would be a very tight 4-issue miniseries. But when I originally did it, it was like 13 issues with no page count. So issue 1 was 60 pages, issue 2 was 50, then it went down to 30. So me and the artist were just like, whatever stuck to the wall, we were like, yeah, and that's it. And then that never got finished, which actually we got quite close. We got to issue 8, and that was online only. So that generated a little bit of a buzz. And then I started writing for a company, again, Vampires, because that's how they got in contact with me. Something called Dark Commandos. And
Okay.
then I did something called, then I did like a parody of Superman called Fleischer. That had 1 issue come out, and then we did a whole bunch of issues and never got released. So somewhere on my computer are files and pages, like two volumes, like 7 issues worth of this comic, which is basically like Justice League Unlimited crossed with Family Guy, like the worst, the most inept superheroes. Like they had no control over their strengths. Like one guy accidentally killed his own teammate because he hit him on the back.
Yeah.
But I wanted to push. I wanted to push it further and really sort of like even doing things like add swearing into it, and this is when I learned like co-writing is an art in itself. So I was pushing one thing, then it would get rewritten, and the swearing would get taken out, and the sexual innuendos. Because I remember I did this, like the superhero who Fleischer, he gets changed he gets changed on his way to a mission, puts his cape on, but forgets to put the rest of his costume on. So he spends the entire issue naked. And there's loads of references to how big his dick is. And like the other writer was like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. And I was like, come on, man, it's kind of funny. But then after a while, you got to say to yourself, how many times can I argue the point? So I just kind of left it. And then when I realized that it wasn't going to take place, I mean, we had a website set up and we were doing interviews. Like I was like, okay, it's clearly not going to happen. But then I got in I was contacted by Blue Water, and they were doing things like they did the Adam West comic book. So I read an issue of Adam West. I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. So basically, Adam West was given an amulet by a mysterious fan, and he fell into a James Bond type story. So he was sort of skipping through fiction. And then, so one issue he was a spy, then he was a cowboy, then he was in Alice in Wonderland. And then the writer, I guess, was having troubles and he was giving up. And the editor said, like, would you like a stab at writing Adam West? And I was like, yeah, cool. And he goes, but could you do a pitch for Burt Ward? Because Burt Ward is interested in becoming a comic book character as well. I was like, okay, sure, fine. I mean, like, forget it, man. It's Batman and Robin. So I sent in a pitch.
Was he naked walking around with his dick out though? That's the question.
Yes, he was.
These are
Awesome.
hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, it was a big fest. So
There you go.
so he's so Burt Ward never replied to me personally. So one of Burt Ward's reps did, and allegedly, I don't know how true it was his wife was in charge. So there was a lot. So I did this whole thing, and there was caveats to it. So I could never have Burt Ward get punched in the face. He had to have a dog, and we couldn't mention his weight gain. And I was like, okay, like weird, but we'll go with that. So I came up with the original idea. I think I gave him. I tried to get body transformation in there. So I think I gave him I literally just went, maybe Burt Ward's like a Power Ranger, and I gave he falls over an amulet and he becomes a Power Ranger when he says something. All right, and then they said no, we don't want that. And then I went, okay, cool, let's try this. He goes back, he goes forward in time, and he does this, and they were like, no, we don't want that. And I was like, okay, I'm running out of ideas here. So what can we do, or what can't we do? And then they were like, well, we like this idea, but you forgot the dogs. I was like, I thought that was a joke. I didn't know that was serious. And they were like, and they really got heated about the dogs. So I was like, I'm not going to get into a back and forth about a dog. He has a robot dog. It has to be a real dog. But you want the dog to talk. Yeah. He has a magic dog. I don't know what to do with this. And so I was like, okay, I can't do this. But then the Adam West thing, I sent a sample script for Adam West. They loved it. And they said, do you want to just do the Adam West? I was like, sure, I'll do that. And then the guy who eventually wrote the Burt Ward story basically just had Burt Ward put on his old Robin costume and fight crime. I thought, the fuck is that? I don't understand. I could have done that. You should have just said. And he had a crime fighting dog. And I was like, this is horrible. I don't understand what's going on. I had him like a goddamn ninja, and he just wanted to be climbing up the buildings again. So I just left that alone. And then I did Adam West. So I thought to myself, they said you got to write from issue 5 to issue 12. So that's your length of your run. I was like, okay, cool. So I started to think about things like, why did Adam West regain his youth when he put on his amulet? Why was he skipping through time? Was it fiction? Was he the only one skipping through fiction? Can it affect reality? And I was reading Grant Morrison's Animal Man at the time, and I was like, yeah, I want to do it like that, where he basically uses the borders of the panels of the page to move through the comic. And they were like,
that's cool.
Oh, that's too difficult. We wouldn't understand what that means. I was like, oh, Jesus. But I started putting ideas in. So every issue, he interacted with a different type of character, and then they would culminate and become a super team at the end of my run. And so the first issue, so issue 5 gets introduced someone called, I literally think I just called him the Strange Man. And he was just a guy who seemed to understand what was going on. And he was trying to guide Adam West through things. And then when I got the artwork back, there was no Strange Man. It was a monkey wearing those glasses that Kanye West. And I was like, the fuck is this? And I remember getting heated. I was like, you just drew what you wanted and kind of put my plot line in there. And I was like, but that spoils things that's going to come up in issue 10. And the editor was like, well, you know what artists are like. And I was like, aha, I'm stuck in this. So
yes, artists are flaky. Artists are flaky.
He just drew what he wanted. I was like, that's not what you're supposed to do. So I carried on. I was like, okay, I'll have to change something. And I came up with the idea, the genesis of a character called the Gentleman. So he's basically a well-dressed vigilante. So he wears Tom Ford Kevlar, and he fights crime with style. All right. And because I invented it, I said to the editor, like, I want to retain rights for this character, my character. And he was like, yeah, fine. So I did a couple more issues. And I got some reviews, and the reviews were strong. They were like, this is like the craziest thing. I mean, I had Adam West, but I had to put certain people in each issue. So I think there was one issue where the guy who played Starbuck in the original Battlestar Galactica, Dirk Benedict, he had to be in the issue. I was like, okay, fine, he's in the issue. And then they wanted me to do an issue with Paris Hilton in it. I was like, no, I'm not doing that one. Someone else can do that. Burt Ward's people didn't want me to do an issue with him and Adam West because they said Burt Ward wouldn't knock out as many people as Adam West. I was like, okay, fine. So I had to add someone else in. And then by the time I got to the end of my run, I just got this email saying, like, yeah, could you put Eartha Kitt in there, please? And Julie Newmar and David Yost from the original Power Rangers and Bill Mummy from Lost in Space. I was like, how? How am I going to do that? You've given me one issue to put all this together. But
do you have to deal with this kind of insanity all the time?
it was literally just this one comic book. I was like, this is the craziest thing ever. But I did that, and on the back of that, I got other things. So I did.
It sounds like wish fulfillment, doesn't it?
Oh, lots of wish fulfillment. I was like, okay. And I remember getting an email from someone who repped Adam West, and they said, like, Adam West obviously reads what he's involved in, and he really likes what he's done. But what have you got planned further than issue 12? And I was like, I'm only on to issue 12, but I'm really glad that Adam West likes it. And you think to yourself, like, shit, man, Batman likes my stuff. Because Adam West was my first Batman.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It is the gold standard, yeah.
I think to myself, like, if the mayor of Quahog is happy with that, then we're good to go. Yeah. Like, so I just thought, like, yeah, this is good. Adam West enjoys it. But then I did Jason and the Argonauts.
Nice.
I did a Jason and the Argonauts story, and I was dealing with the idea that Olympus has fallen, and Zeus hid, and Zeus was then trying to walk backwards in time to get Jason to understand he's got to help defend Olympus. And the editor again liked the idea, but then was like, I like that, but I was just trying to test you because I want you to work on this new comic that I'm doing, which is Ares. And I was like, brilliant, the God of War, I can absolutely do that. And then he goes, oh, but this one it's a little bit different. Ares has been turned into a woman. I was like, why? Why has he been turned into a woman? And he goes, bear in mind, Marvel might be doing something like that with Thor. I was like, they are definitely doing something like that with Thor. I've just seen it. And he was like, well, we thought of it first. I was like, we didn't. Like, so I did. So I wrote an outline. He loved it. And then he just dropped one of his weird emails again. He goes, can you get a lesbian kiss in there? I was like, why? Like, I don't understand.
Do it.
At the end of issue 2, she's got to kiss another woman. I was like, anyone in particular? And then he just gave me these list of names. He goes, any of these? I was like, you seem very excited. And then he just went, 14-year-old boys would love it. I thought, they bloody won't. They don't care.
You're not even looking at it, probably.
They're not, because they're like, oh, a chick with a sword, don't care. And then
don't care, yeah.
They don't give a shit.
All right.
And besides, they don't seem to get the concept of Ares.
Right.
Yeah, I thought like it's a masculine force because it's destruction. So I was writing it, and then money ran out, and then the company folded. I was like, oh, that's quite sad. And I genuinely did like the script because I think of the final fight happens in Times Square, and I was thinking, well, I like, in comic things, I like tearing up a city. So again, there's a script out there for Ares that there's a lesbian kiss in it. So if anyone's interested to draw on that, they are more than welcome. So
that company you're talking about keeps popping back up with a new name, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, they called themselves Stormfront for one while, and everyone was like that. Isn't that like related to a Nazi camp? And then and he was like, I didn't know. I was like, you fucking knew. You thought you were going to get away with it.
What are they now? Are they called Blue Tidal or Tidal Wave? Or
Tidal Wave. But every time I see someone say, like, I want to be involved in it, I like send them a message and like that. Just run away, man. They won't pay you. They promised the world. Because it ended really badly because the one artist I was working with, he was asking for his payment, and he emailed me and he said, like, how often do you get paid? And I said, well, the things have got to get released, then there's some percentage thing, and I go, but actually at this moment in time, I'm just trying to get my name out there and build up my my writing list on comicology and other things like that actually pay attention. And then he goes, well, I've spoken to the editor, and he said that I'll be getting paid on these dates. And I was like, well, cool. But then what he did was he basically just forwarded me the conversation between him and the editor. And then the editor was just like wrote something really bad about me and just went like, don't pay attention to what Leon's saying because I don't pay attention to what he says anyway. And so I copied and pasted his email, sent it to him. I go, do you want to explain this? Because I thought we had an understanding, but obviously you have something to say to me. And then he blanked out the email for a couple of days, and then obviously he got brave one day and he just goes, you know what, Leon, you're just very difficult to work with. I was like, all right, cool, just say that to me then. And then he didn't end it there. Say again?
Difficult to work with? Is he Todd? Is he difficult to work with?
Yeah, Todd. What's he like?
What's your answer to that, Todd?
Well, the truth is, we did have some difficulty.
Yeah.
We did, but we don't anymore. We come to see eye to eye. Basically, here's the gist of it. Okay, we tried to do some things. I went and did some things with other writers. I did some things with pro writers, and I will go, they're not even half as good as he is. So that's the gist of it. I came back to Leon and said, Leon, I'm working with I'm working with imbeciles. I'm working with like NPCs, you know what I mean? It was like, get me out of this. Let's do something. So I took the value of what he had shown me as a writer and went back to him and pulled him and said, hey, don't give this up, because I've worked with plenty of people in the last 2 years and they're not even half as good as you. It comes down to that, basically.
Thank you.
Well, it sounds like what you have is you were having to deal with a 10-year-old, which is unfortunate. And because everything you said was something that a child would say, right? As far as dealing with this person. So, I mean, it's probably best for you that you get away from it. But I have to go and start my setup for another show. It was really nice meeting you, Leon. Hopefully we'll have a chance to chat later.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're going to get him on Fanspeak so that you can have Adam.
Oh, please.
We'll get to ask him all sorts of rude questions.
Oh, brilliant.
Like, how awesome is your writing? That would be a good one. We'll get that one in there. All right, dude.
Thanks for coming, Chester. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, dude. Glad to jump in. I'll see you guys on the other side.
All right.
Bye.
Jimmy, you got any more questions?
No, not really. I mean, we talked about how's it working with Todd, talked about the book, talked about when it's coming out, talked about the writing, got a chance to talk about some characters. I don't know.
Here's the thing. Basically, we talked about the idea of if we can get a publisher, we want to do a feature and backup. The backup is to sort of give you some setting of past, create some sort of feeling for what might be coming up too. Like we might showcase a character in the backup, and then his story becomes more prevalent in the present. So it might be something like I think it'd be cool to see Hollow Point, who he was prior to becoming, like, taking on some biotech that makes him even more destructible. I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with. So it might be cool to see him prior and then for him to be introduced. So that's the idea behind even having a backup. And a lot of that, depends on obviously a publisher and stuff like that. Because even if I were to only draw the 22-page feature and try to do 10 books a year, you still want, these things are really key, because you're building a universe, and maybe it would branch off into other things and maybe it wouldn't. Leon's willing to work with another artist and actually do something that's in the same universe if there's somebody out there. I actually have my eye on a guy that I've introduced. I've shown Leon his work. His name is, hopefully he'll watch this. His name is J. Travis Smith?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. And his work is excellent, you know, and I'm another guy I'm trying to kind of bring over into our community, because obviously we have some things where we're creators, we're CG creators, but and so there's obviously some baggage that comes with that. You got to be willing to realize where your career is going to go, and basically, you know, I don't have a problem with that because this is about owning your labor. You know, ultimately, we want to own our labor. We don't want to do. Leon's full of great ideas, and he could go and write the best damn Superman book you'd ever probably read. But
oh, thank you, man.
You know, we're gonna, you know, we want to own our ideas and own our own labor, and not to have shoulder the nonsense that's going on with the SJW agenda and stuff like that. But that's not even. It's not even about that. Ignition exists where it exists because of who I am as a person, you know. So, and Leon doesn't have a problem with that. And I was put on that list, and that's okay, you know.
Yeah.
If I don't, hey, Megan Fox was on that list, so that's all good to me. You know what I mean? Um, and I've told that story in the early episodes of this show, but he's a really good writer, and if anyone's out there that wants to work with him, whether it's in or out of the Ignition universe, that's okay too, because I don't want him to sit idle and wait on me. You know, the more he does, the better he's going to get, and he's pretty damn good already. So I wanted to introduce him to everybody, you know, because we have some really talented people. Like, look who just joined us, Willie Reed, you know, who's got a how you doing, Willie?
I'm doing well.
I'm really glad you came on. You know, I've been bugging you a little bit. Not full
No,
court,
I've been,
but
yeah, the timing just hasn't been right. I'm on the East Coast, so it's a little different for me from everybody else, right?
Okay, bye.
What'd you say, Booster? Oh, where'd he go?
Good.
Oh, I think he
he's
was
gone.
saying goodbye.
Oh,
okay.
Hey, you got any questions? You've been listening, so you have any questions?
I have been
Willie?
listening, yeah. No, I was just wondering what you guys were doing for when you guys go to launch. What do you guys have flex goals in line, or like are you guys you know, do you guys have special bonuses going?
We will when we get to that point, as
Are
far
you
as
guys adding
different
in
tiers.
like, original sketches and stuff?
Well, you know, I have so much material that goes back to the character when it was originally created for something called Burning Man, and I just took the design. So I've been drawing, you know, I actually have animation sheets and things like that that I've been drawing for years, you know, actually
So are
like
you
3 years
throw
now.
them in as bonuses?
I could, because I don't mind that kind of thing. I don't mind, you know, showing more work. But one of the bonuses is, like I said, I've been eyeing this colorist that he's not even I can't even pronounce his name, but he's not even pro, and he's been showing his work on Hi-Fi, that coloring group on Facebook.
Yep.
And he's really, really, really good. And I'm really shocked that.
Have you given him any samples of your stuff to see if you guys actually?
No.
Okay.
No,
That's
I haven't even started a conversation.
Okay. I would start a dialogue, and then I would give him a sample or two to see if you guys are compatible with each other.
If I think he can do what I think he can do. I get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've done that.
I like that.
Pin-up stuff. The colorist that I've been using is the same colorist as Ben Jones from Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got the same colorist, and I've worked with him so long now. I think it's been like 3 years that I've worked with him for doing a lot of my pinups and stuff, class pages, and I've worked with him so long now that he's come accustomed to my style. So it helps to use somebody that you feel comfortable with, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, again, even if this guy were to say no or whatever, I mean, I'm always on a search,
That's right. Yeah.
looking for, again, you know, it's not something I can't do. But
So
even I always say about myself is my colors are passable at best, you know. But
right. So were you planning on coloring this yourself in the beginning?
oh yeah, I was. But
Okay.
but I knew I needed. It pushed me to learn some things because obviously we're dealing with a fire character. Oh, actually, let me screen share something.
Sure.
Uh, because I don't know if people realize this, but I just want to get it in the right position so when it comes up. But I know everyone is a sort of Photoshop go-to person, um, but somebody figured out. See, when you to color fire in Photoshop, there's something called a widget. It's called a particle physics widget that you can get. That's there's actually a couple I know, but I colored this. Somebody figured out how to do a brush, a particle physics brush, and I actually had to. It looked so real. I had to dumb it down because it looked too much like real fire. And this is a children's book that I'm coloring, and so I threw some different shapes and different things in there to allude of a sort of an explosion. But I was really impressed with this brush that this guy made, and I got them for free in the assets program. Now I know you had a question the other day, and about, you know, what should I get what, and I think I answered it. But man, the more and more I work in strictly Eclipse Studio now, I can tell you there's some range of colors that I've tried to achieve that I can't get, but you mix certain layers and different things, and you can certainly get pretty close, and get to where you want to get to. But man, I don't, you know, I foresee this taking over Photoshop because it's such an intuitive program. It's so much easier to color
Yeah, well, that's the
with.
thing. That's the thing. Like, there's so many programs out there. It's hard for somebody to just kind of land on one that's comfortable for them, right? Like, I mean, there's Sketchbook Pro, there's Corel Paint, there's what have you got? Clip Studio Pro, and then there's Clip Studio EX. I'm not sure what the difference is between that, but I know it's like
That was your
two
question. That's
colors
right.
different. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, the difference between the EX and the Pro is the ability to export to services such as Amazon and Comixology and other things like that. It's not a big difference.
Let me show
But
you
it could,
something about
yeah,
this.
to make or break it though, right? If that's what you're looking for.
No,
Right.
no.
No, it doesn't. It won't really. That's the brush. Now that was just me just going over it twice. Now that's basically in Photoshop. There's a widget that'll do this, and I was really, you know what, you know, it's like anything, right? There's an engine in here, and you have to figure out how to use it. And there's always more than one way to skin a cat, right? And so using Clip Studio for me has been that kind of a learning process. Like, I'll do it one way, and then I'll go watch a video, and it'll show me, oh, it's not. You don't have to do it that way. Like, for instance, our artwork that you scan in and bring in, import in. Well, there's a quick little thing over here that once you make it a layer, making a layer is easy, but it's called convert brightness to opacity. So basically, it takes all the paper away and puts the lines on top of a raster layer. And then you just put your paper layer there. And now you have something where it's not affected, because sometimes, like before I knew how to do that, the paper that would come with the line art would cause all kinds of issues when I wanted to do effects. It didn't cause issues in sort of you know, having the layer be the line art be normal and the coloring layers be on multiply. But when I wanted to do an effect on a screen layer, the paper that was still left, that if I didn't erase it, because I didn't know about this little convert brightness to opacity until only about a month ago, used to give me all kinds of agita, and that's truth. So that's the, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Clip Studio, and as far as its ability, and the more the artists work with it, and granted, this is a program, a Japanese program, and a lot of the assets that are on the program are created by those artists, but they're figuring out the engine and what's possible to do with it. And that particle, I have 4 or 5 different flame brushes that do all different types of things, and that equals this. Those 4 brushes equal the same as that widget that you have to actually pay for to get into Clip Studio, and then to create sort of realistic looking fire. And that, I mean, again, like I said, I had to dumb it down for my children's book and sort of add some layers over it. But man, I'm really impressed. So,
yeah, well, I think the more I look into it, the more I like it, right? Like, I haven't actually tried it yet, but I've been watching you guys, and I've been doing some tutorials and stuff. See, I'm a Photoshop user. I've got the entire Adobe Creative Suite because I'm a graphic designer by trade. So, I mean, I use, Premiere, and I use After Effects once in a while. I use Illustrator a lot for doing logos for people and stuff like that. But, I'm a Photoshop guy. I know Photoshop quite well. But to actually just sit and color a piece, like the question I had on Facebook the other day was, who wants to teach me how to color in Photoshop, right? It's because I've already have Photoshop, and it's not my strong suit. I'm not a colorist, right? That's the thing. So, but I'm curious on how to do it. So
if you know it so really well, then showing you how to color in it, even if I were using, like, even if we spent an hour just working in layers, you have a really good thing that's called alpha channels in Photoshop that are really kind of a different thing, that they're almost called, I could have alpha channels, but they would be actions that I would have to create, and they have them. I actually seen a few guys that are selling them, but in Photoshop, they're alpha channels, and you can do different things, and in the way you work with them and stuff like that makes a much nicer product. And there's, like, you could watch, I think I told you, K. Michael Russell, watch some of his videos, and he has some videos explaining that. So yeah, I could show you in Clip Studio, and you could translate it to Photoshop, because they're not really that different in those respects.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of good things about Clip Studio that Photoshop you just can't do in Photoshop. You can create different gutters, and there's 2 ways of creating panels in Clip Studio. One allows you, to bleed over to the next panel through the gutters, and the other one creates hard gutters, where everything you do in that panel stays in that panel, doesn't go out, doesn't do anything. And then every panel is like an individual page within that page, and has its own layer. And of course, there's the way where you can just do the whole thing as one layer and be able to cross over, do splash pages, and cross over your panels. So Clip Studio has a lot of nice little things in there. You don't just have to draw the panel borders and the gutters. It'll do it for you, and it'll also keep them separated if you want to. So there's no chance of bleeding over, messing up, going. So there's a lot of nice little idiosyncrasies in Clip Studio that I like a lot. Even though I'm not, at you guys' level of drawing and whatnot, I just find it a lot easier to use.
Yeah, well, I find it, like I said, the more I look into it, the more I like it, because it's more artist based. Photoshop is actually an image manipulator software, right? So we use that a lot for magazine advertisements and stuff like that, right? So when it comes time for
photography is basically what you're getting at. Print work, photography, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when I can find something that's more Illustrator based, I like, just the brushes for inking alone is superior to Photoshop. Like I
Right.
was watching you guys ink the other night on, I believe it was Manny's channel, and some of the brushes that you were just testing, you weren't even drawing anything. You were just kind of doing random strokes, and I could
That's
see
right.
and I could see the texture come off onto your canvas. I
Yeah.
thought, oh, like this alone is worth, you know, the $45 or whatever they were advertising for Clip Studio. But then as I was looking at it, I was like, well, do I need the Pro or do I need the EX? Because there, like I said, there is almost like a $200-300 difference between the two of them.
Get the Pro, right? And then wait for the sale. If you like the Pro and you like what is going on with it and you learn how to use it, right?
Then
and
you can upgrade it.
And then the EX will go on sale for way cheaper, and then you could just upgrade if you want it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good
that's what I would do.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So getting back to colors, since we're talking about colors, I mean, we're talking, like, my original question for your campaign was, are you guys considering putting a PDF as one of your little goals?
Did we lose them?
Yeah, I think we got no sound here, Todd.
Sorry, my daughter came in and I muted myself. Yeah, I think we will. It's something to talk about, but then I've heard some things say, you know, I don't know. How do you feel about it, Jimmy? Because you're very opinionated on these things.
Willie, ask the question one more time. I'm sorry.
Okay, so my question
have a PDF.
Okay.
Have a PDF in your campaign because we're talking about color, and the reason personally for me is why I'm asking is because I have an iPad, and the PDFs look absolutely gorgeous on my screen.
Yeah,
and to me that alone is worth backing you guys if I can have it on my screen. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am a comic book fan, and I love holding the comic in my hand. I like flipping through the pages, and I love the smell of the ink, just like everybody else. But I do love the look of it on my screen.
You're gonna make me color in Pro Photo RGB.
So
that's just me personally speaking, right? Like, you know.
No, I get it.
Things that I'm thinking about, like when it comes time for me to launch my book, you know. Because
here's my thought on that on the PDFs, right? PDFs are fine. The problem with the PDFs is when you hand out a PDF to your customer, let's say you make a $5 PDF tier, right? And I'm so, like Todd said, I'm opinionated. Let's say you create a $5 PDF tier. They buy into your $5 PDF tier, but now that PDF tier is not locked, and you can share. And once they download it, it's shareable to the whole world, right? And the PDF is awesome. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people just want the PDF. I say the PDF should be included with the physical copies, you know, and
not its own tier.
Not its own tier.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thoughts too.
Yeah, I think the PDF should be a complimentary piece to all the tiers. Like, okay, every tier that's a hard copy should have a PDF is included, even to the lowest. Let's say your lowest tier is $20 for the book, right? And that's just the book with the Tom Mulrooney, Leon, John Hancock in the front, and the PDF tier, right?
Yeah.
And that should be the way. And I appreciate people that want to do the PDF tier for people that don't have a lot of money, but I think I think you do yourself a disservice in a way that everybody will like. I just get the $5 PDF PDF, and I can just share it out to whomever I like. Now, one of the reasons why Todd says I'm opinionated is because sometimes people are behind on the books and whatnot, and I feel like if you're going to continue to push your book back and you really got to complete it and it's sitting at the printers, why don't you just give the people that backed your book? I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying that original 100, 200, 300, 1,000 people that back your book that have been waiting. Why not say, hey, you know what? I know you've been waiting. You've already paid for the book. here's a complimentary PDF of the entire book till you get your physical copy. That's another subject, but I think that the PDF should be included with every tier, but not to be a tier on itself. And I'm not trying to be mean to anybody. It's just that as far as artists are concerned, they put a lot of hard work into this, and then there's no way to lock it down. Now, if you're saying,
Yeah, because it is shareable.
Yeah, it is very shareable. Now, if you're saying
nobody's stopping anybody from sharing it all over the world, like you were saying.
I mean, I guess that's fine, but I mean, free publicity, I guess. But then, how now the way I look at it is this: if you're gonna push out a PDF and people want a PDF only tier, let's say Todd and Leon have a successful campaign, right? And they meet their goal, right? They have a little bit of money left over to invest into the future books and whatnot, right? I don't see anything wrong, like with Todd taking some of that money or Leon taking a little bit of money they made and saying, hey, let's talk to Amazon or Comixology or whoever publishes digital media, right? And say, can we get this book on that digital media format? Because then that digital media is now locked down to whatever application you download that PDF to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you download it to Comixology, it stays in your Comixology library. If you download it like to Amazon Books or iTunes Books, excuse me, or iTunes or Amazon or whatever format.
Kindle.
Yeah, or Kindle. Yeah, there you go. Those stay locked down within those formats. You see what I'm saying?
Does Kindle have comic books?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Kindle?
get it on iTunes or iBook or whatever.
You can get it from iBooks. You can get it from Kindle. You can get it from Comixology. So what I'm saying is,
I've got a couple of books, and I read them through the Kindle reader on my iPad. And what did I read? Mark Miller, Frank Whiteley's Jupiter's Legacy. Beautiful on an iPad.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
See, I don't have Comixology. I don't have any of that stuff. The ones that I have on my the ones I do have on my iPad, they actually come from the campaigns that I've backed on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So that's why I was asking, is because I have PDFs from campaigns backed, and I love them.
Fine.
I love it. They're absolutely gorgeous, and
that's fine. But I think that if you're gonna sell the PDF on its own, maybe you should do it through another service, that allows a little bit of protection to yourself. You know what I'm saying? But I get it, because you don't want your work stolen and given away for free when we're trying to make money.
Yeah, I mean,
right? I mean, we're trying to get our work out there, but we still don't want to be in the hole over all this shit.
Yeah. I mean, like, what if you did something like you gave a different version on a PDF? Because I know some guys who do the same comment, and they'll do like a black and white version, and they do that PDF only, and then to get the full version, you get it like physically, you get all the colors, and then you get the bonus stuff. They just give a different version with a different format. So
yeah, you could do that.
You get loads of it. I can't remember the name of I can't remember what he did. But he basically just did a black and white unlettered version on PDF. So people could see it, but to read it and get a full colorized version, they'd have to buy the physical copy. And people were still doing it. They were like, I don't care, because I'll get to look at it like this. Then I get to read it as a comic book or read it through my iPad because I've downloaded it from wherever. Right? And he seemed to be okay with that. But then like he couldn't get past issue 2 of his own work. And I just thought, that's a shame, because like it was going somewhere. But different versions, different formats. That's another way around it.
Yep, you're right. You can make a PDF tier with an unfinished version, maybe an uncolored version. Some maybe roughs, maybe just inked. Yeah.
Like a couple of like uninked pages, like a real. Like, remember when Image first came out and they did their trade paperbacks? Like, some of them only had 3 issues worth for a trade. And then half the book was their sketch pads, a copy of the first script,
I do remember that they had the script right in the book. Yep.
Yeah. Who did it? Who had one of the better ones? Eric Larson's Savage Dragon. His first trade paperback, his bonus features in the back were more intriguing than the actual first 3 issues.
Yeah.
I remember poring over it because I was like, "Oh my god, I can't wait."
Now, is
to
that
read.
because were you interested in that because you're a creative person, or would the average Joe be interested in that?
I think if you're a fan of the medium, if you're a real comic book like geek, nerd, whatever you want to call them now,
You want to see the behind the scenes stuff?
Yeah, that always intrigued me.
Well, I find people are drawn to a story that they can follow, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why we have so many people watching our live streams, is because they're interested in following our stories.
Yeah.
Right. Not the stories that we're writing, but our stories as ourselves. We're building a huge community here.
If we did this next year, we shouldn't be talking about the same thing. We should be talking about, like, yeah, we're 4 issues in. It's been a journey. We've learned this, and they've come along for that. And having that as a bonus on anything, like if you're really into it, or there's someone out there and they're thinking about starting up their own comic, they're thinking about something, or they're interested in it and they want to. This would be brilliant. These are the sort of things that I used to be more intrigued in when I was younger. When I did my first X-Men script, and I was like, yeah, Wolverine's the leader, and I was just reading any interview with any comic creator I could get my hands on because I wanted to know what they were doing. Like, what do? Do you just sit in a room all day? How do you do it? And I'll just carry on about my life, and I take a walk in the park, and I get some notes down because I still have a notebook. I don't write in my phone as much as I thought I would. I get a little book. I write notes down. I hear something, a song for a playlist when I'm writing. I mean, even things like that. I'll be like, here are the 10 songs I was listening to when I wrote issue 2. And I would just jot it down and just give it to someone. And then I'll go, because this is the mood I'm after. So, like, let's just say Ignition 3, which is primarily a fight issue. The music that I'm listening to get myself into that, bands like Disturbed and Queens of the Stone Age, a bit of Prince, Missy Elliott, things like that. Like, I want people to understand, like, that's where I was when I wrote that issue. Like, I would give all that information out there because I want someone to go, this is what they did when they put their comic book together. When I get ready and I put my comic book together, I want to kind of get into that sort of zone or work out if that process works for me.
I talk about this a lot early in when I started this whole YouTube journey, was the idea that, like Ethan Van Sciver said, you're breaking the veil between the creator and the fan, because that's what the community is sort of clamoring for. You know, they don't want to be mistreated. So if you can pull people in, create a base, then give them the product, create an even bigger base, and now you're starting a journey together, right? And along that journey, like I even talked to you about the idea of letting people, like maybe when we get to issue 5 or 6, pick a backstory. Like, what character have you seen in the first 5 or 6 issues that you'd like to see the backup feature for? And then letting that be like, I'm bringing you in because I'm approachable, and this sort of the whole idea behind why I'm always talking to creators and trying to pull people in, and like, you know, unfortunately the whole CG thing sort of has take some people out of it, but I'm like, you got it all wrong. You know what I mean? We're creating something over here that I wish was called something different, but unfortunately it isn't. But what it really is we're creating an almost a new way of doing comics, but basically you're going to be able to, like, if you were a creator yourself and you want to see me, you know, talk about, I have videos where I talk to creators about process, or I do, you know, everyone always says, oh, it's boring when you talk about coloring or whatever. Or like you mentioned me going through all those brushes. I was downloading brushes and trying them. And then what I was doing was renaming them or deciding if I even needed them. and you saw that, and because they sometimes the guys that make the best brushes, they'll call them weird things, but it doesn't really allude to what it does. So I try to rename the brush and tell you what, like, I want to remember this brush. I want to know I'm going to it because it's like a sponge. It acts sort of like a sponge, and it creates sort of like, it doesn't mix with the color, it goes over top of it. So I have all these keywords that I use when I rename a brush. And these, a lot of guys that I go on screen with, like, Manny and them guys, they go, "Oh, that's boring." I'm like, I don't really think it's that boring, because, you could see, I have over 2,000 brushes now. I have mega packs by everyone that makes a mega pack. And I think it's important to know how to use these things and talk about color and things like that. And, like, I could sit here and draw all day live, but I don't know how, I know there are people that are willing to watch that and they'll interact with you while you're doing it. But if I'm not talking about what I'm doing and the actual engine and the product and the things like that, I don't think, I'm almost like doing a disservice, because, like you said, there are such good inking tools in there. Some of them act like a nib, some of them act like a brush, some of them have a little life to them. Like when you flick at the end, you'll see it sort of stabilize for you. Not a lot of people realize that, but it's pretty amazing stuff. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean, because I was intrigued just watching you.
Hey, Bill, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey,
What are you up to?
I am working on my pages, or story Chester and I are working on.
Bill, this is Leon, the writer of Ignition. Leon, this is Bill, Argos Creations. He's also involved in Tales from Beyond the Gate.
hey,
And, he does a lot of the same streams that I do. We got him involved. See how, this is sort of something that's spreading. And I think this will be, they talk about the industry failing. And I think what you're looking at is how it is succeeding, how it is. Because the internet and YouTube and that is bringing people from all over. Chester is from Japan. He lives in Japan. Leon, he's from the United Kingdom. This has the ability to bring people together. Whether you want to work in comics or whether you don't, or whether you want to be a creator or you don't. The whole idea of this technology making us all accessible to each other is showing you that it really isn't dying. It's morphing into something else.
It is. It's changing into there's a new dynamic to everything. Leon, nice to meet you.
good meeting you.
Yeah, the idea that I was listening in on the chat and I just decided to jump in. But seeing the process is really interesting for me. So, and seeing how writers talk about how you put together your story, because there's so many moving parts to a story when it's all inside your head, and it's fluid and it can keep changing. And then, so the process that you use to make different parts of the story static, and then so you can build off from there, the whole creation process is really interesting to me, because I'm an artist and I want to write and I have stories.
See,
I haven't
it's interesting to you because you're a creative person. But what I'm trying to get at is it interesting to the average reader who follows Captain America just because it's Captain America?
Well, I think there are some streams that can show that.
There's that difference, right? Because I'm a creative person, and this is why I'm following everybody's journey, right? And this is why I want to see all the behind the scenes. I want to see how it's done. But does the average reader who just collects comic books because they love the heroes actually care about the behind the scenes?
No, I think it's split. You get some who read comics because they just want to read the comics and follow the story. That's great. Then you get some who start off like that and then work out, like, maybe this is something I could pursue. Whether it's colorist, inker, penciler, writer, however they want to do it. I think there's something for everyone. I mean, like I initially wanted to be a comic book artist, but I have the downside that I can't draw women. I was like, I better step that because I couldn't. They all just look immense, right? And then, but I realized what I was doing. I was always putting together like team shots, and like if I wrote the Avengers, this is the team that I would utilize. Then I realized I was actually plotting things in my head. Then I tried writing a story, and then I could do that. And then when you're like 14, 15, and you try to put together your first comic book, you do that. And then I got really interested in understanding, okay, how will I put this together? How am I writing? And then I got more into writing. And then it just went from there. Like anything I could do, like I said before. And then I started realizing I was following certain writers. So initially I was following everyone who jumped over to Image, I followed them. Then I realized really quickly that the stories weren't that powerful. And then I remember falling in love with Alan Moore's work and like Watchmen and Killing Joke. And then it went from there. And then Neil Gaiman came along, and Warren Ellis, and Grant Morrison, and Mark Miller, Brian Michael Bendis. And then my favorite at the moment is Brian Azzarello, because they've all got a voice when they're writing. And artists, you got certain artists who were very stylized. So like Todd McFarlane, when he was doing Spider-Man, like everyone followed. Like I used to be like, how can Spider-Man swing with all that webbing? That's insane. Like, but I'd still follow because he changed how everyone drew Spider-Man for a while. Like this one guy, because he just wanted to draw it, and then everyone had those big flat feet. And even Rob Liefeld, as much as he can't draw ankles, everyone still ran to follow and see what he was doing. So it's different. Everyone, like these guys are names in the industry because someone followed all of them to see what was going on. And then you get guys who are now, like Jeff Jones says he's always been a fan, and you get some of the artists who are doing X-Men, and some of the guys who are doing Avengers and Justice League and Superman and Hawkman and Flash. They all said that they were fans and remember drawing when they were younger. So they picked up a comic, they found something in it, and they pursued it. So yeah, I think there's more people are still interested in becoming creators, but they haven't worked out what exactly they want to do yet. But I think if we can do things where we can say, come along for the journey and see what we're doing and see how we're doing it, like, yeah, come along. Like, if you're listening now, jump in, drop us a message, or find us on Twitter, all right, and just get involved and see what we can get from this.
Yeah, no, that's a great. I like how you've taken the initiative to invite people in to your story. Same with Chester and Fanspeak. You know, that's the whole gimmick behind Fanspeak is we're the fans. We want to hear from you. Send Chester in the inbox, and he'll bring you out on the show. Right. So
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love how open we all are about this whole journey. Right. If you have questions,
not a little secret thing anymore.
Yeah, it's a new dynamic, like Bill said. It's all you hear about is complaints about. Now, granted, we might get to issue 6, and a bunch of people go, Todd, what the frick, and or might have an issue with something, and that's okay, because at least you'll be able to, I won't sit there and duck you. I'll even have you on, and I've even said this to other creators about, like, hey, you want help with something. We don't have to be live, but this is a way we can. This hangout thing is a way we can screen share and talk and do something, and like I've done it with Cat, with coloring and stuff like that. This is all. This is kind of, this aspect of it is new to me, because I didn't really, I really didn't get it. I would sit here and do my thing on my tablet and on my pen display, and I really wasn't a part of this community in that sense. Kind of got pushed over here. But since I got here, man, I'm just impressed. Like you're saying, Willie, like there's a sort of brotherhood, and there's sort of camaraderie, and there's sort of a lifting of each other up. And every time I go into I try to leave a stream and say something like, we need to retweet each other, we need to do this, we need to do that, because this is self-promotion. It's the engine, because you don't have we're not going to have the engine, right, Leon? We're not going to have Marvel, we're not going to have previews, we're not going to have Wizard doesn't exist anymore, Hero doesn't exist anymore.
Got Ekron.
We're the engine, and this is the engine, and the community's our engine in that same sense. They're going to help us achieve, if the book is good, achieve success.
Yeah,
it's almost like an open license software, like where it keeps on, you can keep on being developed and put back out, and people can take the resources that are available and use them how they want to and tweak everything. You just go out and look and see what kind of software you need or what kind of program you need to do and I'm using the metaphor so that you could get the skills that you want, and you can find someone who has them. Like, just even when it's just technical stuff, like when you were helping me, learn how to run Hangouts real quick, stuff like that. It's great that we have that ability to have some of the resources. It's almost like we have a living library, of different creators.
And hopefully the whole connotation behind the negative aspects of this will go away. Granted, we have sort of pocket communities that create, they stir things up, but if people just realize, like you talk about the war campaign and stuff, oh my God, they're a bunch of guys having fun, it's maybe some of them take it a little too far and stuff like that, but eventually that's all it's going to sink to the bottom. And what you're going to have is pros and amateurs and creators just sort of being able to exist in this sort of universe of YouTube, Twitter, whatever, even though Twitter is a bit of a cesspool at times, but you're going to have comics that you can get to and buy. And the idea that, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but the idea of going to your local comic book store is slowly becoming something that may not be there 10 years from now. And I'm not saying I'm not trying to give you a $5 comic for $25. That's not me at all. I think by the time we get to the point where we get to somewhere where there's a lot of success in this area, we'll have a model where we're getting you a book at a really good quality price, and you're not overspending for that quality, and I know that people looking at it, they go, why, just because you added 20 more pages than a Marvel comic, and you're going to charge $40, and they think that's a little bit ridiculous. And trust me, I don't get it either. I'm really watching how everyone puts up their Indiegogo, their campaigns, because I'm not out to, I want to get you my book, and I'm telling you, the story, you're going to get 2 stories. You're going to get 44 pages of sequential artwork. That's for sure.
Speaking of Indiegogo and the campaigns, one of the things that I like about Fanspeak is when we do the interviews and we bring up their campaign of who we're interviewing, we actually use them as a teaching experience, and we can tell them exactly what's right and wrong about their campaigns, of what the fans see. And I'd really like Chester and Denali to sit down and put an Indiegogo campaign how-to together. We've mentioned it before. I'm not sure exactly if they've put it together or not, but I think we really need that.
We'll be doing that twice. We're going to be doing that with Tales from Beyond the Gate.
Okay, perfect.
And then we're going to be doing that with Ignition.
Oh,
it's going to be sort of live.
Okay, so I just jumped the gun then.
No, you just missed a few streams maybe, because we've been talking about that people really want to see this.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm on East Coast, so I'm in a different time zone compared to everybody else. Seems to be in the middle and way off to the other side. So it's probably all it was. Is I probably just missed a stream or two.
Tales from Beyond the Gate is looking like it's definitely going to be about 90 plus pages of sequential story work from a lot of different people.
I've been following most of them. I'm friends with John Dillard gaming the system, friends with Manny, friends with Chester, and I'm following, right?
Yeah, I see you all the time. That's why I eventually peeked and saw that you were an artist. But yeah, so we'll be doing that live, and of course that'll be different, because it's not a graphic novel. We're not hard pressing it or anything like that. We are, but we've seen some really good prices for it's almost like the bigger it is, the better your breakdown price becomes, or your scale becomes. And it's there's no fear right now. After we looked into all that, we don't really have any fear that we won't have a successful campaign. I think we're going to have a tremendously successful campaign.
From what I've seen from you, Todd, and I haven't really gotten into any of the writing from Leon or anything, but what I've seen from you, I can see this being successful for sure. But like I said, I haven't seen any of the script or anything, but I think the artwork, from what I've just seen from you sharing, what you have been sharing, and just from following, I can see it being successful. You can consider me a backer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about John Dillard's caveman story, which I know I said this, like, I would not attempt that. And everyone's like, oh, like Joe Kubert, this is not the same kind of story. Those are talking cavemen. His caveman doesn't say any words. This is a almost silent story. And he's really pulled off, man.
What was
really impressive.
What was that movie with Ron Perlman back in the day about the caveman? There was no talking in that entire film. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Was it Fire or something? The Fire of the...
Search for Fire, maybe?
Search for
Fire? Journey for Fire? Quest for Fire.
Quest for Fire, yeah.
No talking in that entire film, and it was captivating.
Right.
So, for him to attempt to do that in a comic book, that's ballsy, but I think he's pulling it off.
He is. I was really impressed. Look, John gets on me a lot, so I would be critical, and I wouldn't mind. But I was like, he asked, hey, do you think everything is okay with his layout? I'm like, I wouldn't change a thing. It's impressive. Very impressive. So, again, I'm lucky I get to draw a Mike Barron story. Chester has taken one of a story that I did before and really just changed it. So it's really his story, and I'm redrawing it, every page of it, because I had some work that never got published, and I said, hey, why don't you just adapt this into something? And when he came back with a script where it basically becomes a gauntlet run. There's a guy out there in space, he needs gas, he's been in a little bit of a scuffle, and he goes to this planet, and oh my god, there's nobody here, I'm just going to take the gas. Hey, why not? And then it becomes a gauntlet. So now he's on a run, and there's chaos that has happened on that planet, and that's why there's nobody there. Some experiment has gone awry. So I don't even want to use those old pages. I'm going to redraw them, and do them in a different style even. So I have three different things going in this book, and all three will have a different style. I got to pull it off too, right?
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah,
I like
the clock's ticking, bro.
Yeah, when is the deadline? That's coming up.
Well, we're going to go live in February, right?
Right.
So just a matter of weeks.
But then it'll be what, for 3 months or 2 months? I can't remember.
Yeah, 2 months. Right.
Okay.
So I hope to have Mike Barron's story completely done by then. That's why I've been knocking out this children's book. I couldn't. I was thinking I'll do a page of this and do a page of that and do this and that, and I got to the point like that's maddening. I was getting like I was getting anxious. Like I was creating like upsetting my own stomach by thinking I could do that, and I said just knock one off at a time.
Yeah.
Because the mailing thing's gonna come up on you, and you're gonna have to do that because there's incentive in that. You know, there's money.
When does the mail-in thing start for you?
It looks like it's starting February 1st too.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So
You're
I got a
under
lot
stress.
I have a lot to do.
Yeah, you can do it though. I mean, I've got faith in you.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate that.
Like
So
I said,
before we go,
I've seen your work,
Leon.
so-
Thanks. Before we go, Leon, anything else you want to say about Ignition that nobody thought to ask, that you think people should know?
No, no, I don't want to give. I've given tons away. There's just little things that make like each page just flip over. So, I don't know, like,
Leon, you've given away too much candy already. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, but
Yeah.
each bit of candy I've given is filled with poison. So, you know, chew it at your discretion. I don't know. It's fun. Do you know what? Like the amount when I first plotted it, I remember thinking, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna write that, and then I just kept simplifying it. And every time I simplified it, I got more enjoyment out of it. So please don't expect it to be like an X-Men when it was written by Chris Claremont, where everything's like a hidden plot point that's going to get picked up later on. It's actually one of the more straightforward plots I've actually done involving superheroes. And it's been a while since I've actually written a straightforward superhero book. I've done horror for a while, but I'm having more fun doing this than I have done anything in ages. That's why I'm saying sitting down and waiting for Todd is like I can sit and write all the scripts out fully, but I know I'll just keep going back and back and back and back. But again, if anyone's out there and they want to get involved and be involved in the Ignition verse, then like I would happily cobble together something, make it fit, because I've got. It's not just Ignition. I'm thinking of everything. I'm thinking of like how there's stuff that I know about characters that will never ever be hit in a script because it doesn't need to. But like I know things like what Ignition did when he first got his powers, because this story picks up, and it is Ignition's second year as a hero, so he's still quite relaxed. He hasn't hurt anyone yet. He hasn't made his mistakes, so you know the fun is still to happen because I'm getting a chance to write his lessons in, and it's lovely and straightforward. And there's no dark and grim origin. His parents weren't shot in front of him while they were trying to get him into a spaceship and shoot him to Earth. None of that. He's not from the future. Nothing. Like there's cast members that as I'm writing, I'm discovering more about them. And I was saying to Todd, like we've got a couple of public domain characters in there, and I thought, oh, we'll see how this goes. And one of them I'm loving. Like I'm rewriting him now, and I'm like, oh my god, he's actually really cool, and I enjoy him because I'm not trying to make sense of his suit or bring it up to date. I'm like, no, this is just a costume he wears because he's a superhero, and that's it. And like I was talking to Todd about it, and Todd was like, oh man, I can't wait to actually like draw this guy. And I remember I showed Todd. Remember when I sent you I gave you a teaser of the first page I was writing for issue 2, and I was like, yeah, and they're just fighting some villain who does ice. I think I called him Ice Age because I'm just like, just call him Ice Age, whatever. And Todd was like, okay, so what about him? And I was like, it's just a throwaway character, man. I don't really know anything about him other than fire and ice. That's just the battle that you've got, so you get to draw something cool. And it's just something like that. Like, and I want more of that. And if people come up and want, like I've said a couple of times, let us know. We'll get involved. It won't overlap. It won't get in the way. It will just enhance what we've got going on already. I think it'll be fun to actually build an actual thing with more than a singular title. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
So you had mentioned that you're rewriting this character. So you had him written out before, and now you're making changes.
In note format. So when I'm writing, like I'll plot something out, and then I'll work out if anyone's got like a little subplot going on. And I barely paid attention to him, but he was just there in the team that Ignition sort of looks at. But then I thought, no, he would get out there more and more. And then I thought, I need another superhero to be fighting with Ignition in issue 2 for Ignition to be talking to. And I thought, oh, I'll bring him along because he seems quite fun. And then he appears again in issue 4, and he plays a bigger role again in issue 6. I thought, yeah, this guy's organically growing to be like the other superhero that Ignition likes to talk to, because I enjoy writing him. And he's not like Batman. He's just more. You know what he is? He's like Nightwing. He's like Dick Grayson. He's very fun to be around, and he's very highly skilled, like Liam Neeson.
Very
Liam
cool.
Neeson.
Well, Leon, I want to follow you. Where can I follow you? I want to hear more about your writing and the way that you do things, because I'm
away, man. Just
got a book myself right now, and I've got a lot of ideas that I've got in my head, and I want to get them out on paper. And I like the fact that you just said that you're rewriting this character. Not the fact that you wrote them, but you're rewriting them. And I want to pick your brain, you know.
Ask me a question.
Well, I don't really have time right now. I've got people coming in the door there, but you know, it's late over here right now.
I'll put his info, like his Twitter, in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, because I'm looking forward to following you, because I was actually quite intrigued. You know, I was listening to you guys before I even logged on, and you know, your whole process is just intriguing, right? Because I'm so interested in doing it, and I'm working on my own project right now, and yeah, I really want to pick your brain.
Yeah, follow me. I'll follow back. DM me, whatever. There's never enough questions. I love it.
Okay, man. Cool. Well, that's my parting words. You guys can find me on Twitter at Willie Reed, YouTube Willie Reed, Facebook Willie Reed. Yeah, that's it. I gotta get going.
Thanks, Willie. I appreciate you coming. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I'll be talking to you, Todd. I want to pick your brain too.
Excellent.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Cool. Bye. Who we still got?
You got me.
Wow, 13 people are still watching. I wonder if there's any more questions in the chat. Let me check before we. Oh wait, what do we got here? Prince point, deciding factor. Price point. Oh, somebody's talking about price point is definitely a deciding factor. I have backed most books that are trade size for 20 or more because it's hard to justify the price for a 48-page book. 48 pages isn't bad, you know, as far as a book goes. Like I said, we definitely have 44 pages of story, sequential art that would go into the first campaign. It might go more. I've had to add I've done some tweaking with Leon to because originally it was 20, and I was like, no, I need more. So right now we're looking at 44 pages. Another enticement is knowing the book is basically completed. I know this isn't always possible per project, but the project that is print ready is likely to get my money. Well, see, this is what I talked about, and he joined us late. This is Bracy. Yeah, he joined us late, so I talked about this. I am not that kind of guy, because make or break Ignition is going to be in book format. Doesn't matter. I have some fallback connections, but yeah. So I'll be, for instance, the first campaign I do. I talked about it being 44 pages. Is going to be 2 stories, issue 1, issue 2 of the main feature. I'll be past page 20, well past page 20, before I hit that launch button, you'll see colored sequential pages that I'll do prior to building the campaign. So you don't have to worry about me being late or any of that stuff, because that ain't gonna happen. I personally don't agree with putting a project up there and then the project success dictates what you do with it. So you're basically showing a bunch of design work. This happened, and more power to them, because now they're stuck. They got to do it. I don't want to. I'm not. That's not me. I'll be well past. You'll see that. You'll know that. And then I won't be. It won't be something where you're getting updates after the campaign's over. Update. Okay, I completed page 1. That's not going to be the case.
It's kind of a bad,
because that's, to me, I would never even back a campaign like that. But then again, I don't have the cachet as Ethan and stuff. If he, obviously, if he's going to do something, he's going to do it. But it was, and I'm not talking about him. It was some of the other campaigns that also were able to do that, And like I certainly wouldn't have a problem have backing Red Rooster. I really actually want Red Rooster. One of the things I look forward to the most. And I wouldn't have a problem backing Mike S. Miller. But it's some of the other campaigns that are a little smaller that were sort of hinging on whether they were successful or not to actually begin a process. And you know what? My book is not hinged on a campaign. I won't do that. My book is going to come out, and it doesn't matter if campaign's successful or not. It'll just go back to one of the fallback plans.
So you're saying Ignition will hit the eyeballs regardless?
Yeah, it might be harder for you to get, or it might be harder for you to,
But it's good. I think my interpretation of the question is, and I think it's down to a lot of people put a lot of stuff out there saying it's on its way. They get a little bit of backing. And I think one of the problems is that people fall in love with the process of putting things together without actually knowing how to finish it. That must be infuriating for people when they've backed it as well. All right. So echoing what Todd says, all right, considering that me and Todd are actually harder on ourselves than anyone can actually imagine. All right. We will endeavor to make sure that things come out, and we won't put together a silly schedule, promise the world, and then go, it's a week late, we're really sorry, but it's here. Like, even that week will mean the worst thing has had to have happened to us personally. All right. But you've got a writer who's waiting to see more of the artist's work. You've got an artist who wants the writer to continue writing and doing stuff. So more than anything, we are Ignition's biggest fans. We want the thing to be out there as much as you guys. So just remember that. All right, and we will get it out there. It will happen, like Todd said. Even if it means we got to post it ourselves or deliver it door to door, we'll get it to you.
Yeah, that's for sure. I echo that too. Again, there's other ways, I definitely, hopefully, I'm doing these things, doing this, doing Fanspeak, doing John Diller's gaming system, being a part of Tales from Beyond the Gate. That's all about building a base, you getting to know me. The reason why I come on camera on my own channel is to endear myself to you, the reader, the fan, the other creators that are in the community, because we're supporting each other too. I want to back your book and vice versa. I want to endear myself to you because of I don't think you see an icon you don't see sincerity. You see an icon, and then you just hope you hear sincerity. And I think you can read a person's face based on sincerity. And like I said, by hook or by crook, this is a book that's going to happen. And I certainly, I have connections that we'll use or we'll fall back to, but I'm looking at creating a situation where we have a publisher you guys are aware of, a publisher you know, and then that's where you'll get the product, you know, and maybe you'll get it through Diamond or you know, whatever. But it definitely, that's the idea, you know, is to prosper that way. It's not to prosper campaign after campaign after campaign. You know, that's not gonna that's not the model that we're looking at. You know, there's a lot of models out there I like, and a campaign is more about introducing myself and making sure that we set off in the right direction, and we show that we're legit, you know, that it's a pro quality book, that it's something worth backing, right? It has to be something worth backing. Again, that comes back to the quality of it, and that you become a fan of it, you know, because first here and then hit with the ground running with the publisher. I got to bring you from there to there. So it'll be the feedback. You know, we'll do, me and Leon will do this for 60 plus issues for, you know, 10 years. Doesn't matter if it has that kind of cachet and following and people enjoy it. We'll do it until it completely fades down to the Amazing Spider-Man numbers of about 2,400. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, that's the idea, you know, is to be on camera, be sincere, create a situation where you believe in us. You're interested in us. You're interested in our product, and we're going to hit the ground running, you know. And you know, it kills me to say it's been pushed off but it's been pushed off for some good reasons that make me bring more attention to it. Not that I'm pushing off drawing it. I'm bringing more attention to Ignition. I'm very lucky. I'm lucky to have gotten involved with Tales from Beyond the Gate. I'm lucky that in there I'm drawing a Mike Barron story. I'm lucky I won the fan contest or the talent search contest with Graveyard Shift. Very lucky. That's a huge opportunity for me. And you know, if that'll be the proof right there, basically, because they've set up a system of incentives that there's a page rate and then there's hitting certain deadlines. I've always wanted to prove that I could hit a deadline to make more money, you know, and that's what they've set up. So I'm eager, you know. So hopefully nothing will fall by the wayside for anything. I got to hustle, and that's why I don't do a lot of live streaming and stuff like that, because I can only do that so much. It's not that I don't want to build my channel or do that kind of thing, but, you know, it's really, you know, I'm getting paid to do this children's book. I want to get that done, move on to the next thing. There's only so many hours in a day, you know. I'm really under a sort of a gun. Now, if I come out the other end, you'll have a lot more belief in me at that time, because trust me, this is a lot of work in a short period of time that I have to do. So if I'm successful at that, then Ignition will be a breeze.
Oh, you say that now. Wait till you read the script for number 3. You'll be like, oh man, this is gonna take me 6 months.
There you go.
Dude, I split a car in half with fire.
Yeah, that was a sweet drawing.
That's nothing. I was just testing you then. You got some buildings falling, my friend. They're coming. I want to see individual bricks.
And the times.
So it takes me 5 seconds to write that sentence. And then I go, over to you, Todd. Let's get this done. Like, there's not enough sweat. Is there any more questions? I want to answer some more questions if there's any more out there.
Yeah, let me look in the chat again if there's any more questions. Oh, wait, there might be. Thanks. Good to hear, especially when considering whether or not to back an unknown creator, at least unknown to me, versus someone like EVS who's been doing this for so long. I agree. I wasn't trying to put down their campaigns and how they started them, and so that's not what I was getting at. I'm saying I can't do it. You know, I'm not one to do it, but I can't do it that way.
Well,
I
it's
have
good
no
also to
cachet.
hear. It's also great to hear your level of commitment. You know, this book is going to happen, no ifs, ands, or buts. You know, and that's what fans want to know. I mean, we want to make sure this is something that
Yeah, let me show
that
why.
there's actually going to be a product at the end of this. You know,
Let me show fans. Let me show the people watching something. Because this is my level of commitment. Why would I put this character at all on a t-shirt and embarrass myself with never having a comic book? Because
you get a tattoo of it next.
Oh, it's on his back.
Ooh,
It's on his back. Awesome.
yeah, so I would never do that if I wasn't really committed to this project. Because I turned down a lot of work. Or you know, a lot of people come up to me, oh, I want you to draw my this and that, and I'm like, it's a ways off before I can do anything, you know. I can't even do the design work for something right now. This is, you know, I'm in full mode of getting each one done. Just the best way I can put it is I gotta get each one done. I appreciate Mr. Bracy here asking the questions. Thanks for coming in and joining us. Doesn't look like there's any more questions. Nope. I don't see any more questions. Bill, you have any questions?
No, I was just enjoying listening in. But I'm on the same page with. Well, I'm kind of really at the very beginning. You know, it was maybe November. I just hit up Chester asking to go on Fan Edition.
Mm-hmm.
Early November, late October, I think, and then just from there, I was, you know, Chester approached me with a story because he liked what I could do. But it was also Manny inviting me onto his show after some of the competition to get to, you know, just to hang out. And that's when I started showing you some work, and the response has been great. And I would think it would be great if we did a little more shop talk instead of just jock talk. You know what I mean? So that's one thing I was just kind of hoping to find out more, and find, you know, more people who are really interested in teaching more of the craft. I mean, it's fun to hang out and talk, but, you know, I also want to get better at what I'm doing.
Well, you know that's my go-to is talking. I enjoy more talking about it. And it's probably why you don't see me on a lot of different things. Is like, you know, you go on Manny's show and I'm actually not certain what he wants, because when you start getting all if you get a little randy on the show or a little feisty, then he goes, "Ugh." And then if you start talking about coloring, he goes, "Ugh." You know. So I'm not really sure what Manny wants, you know. But I mean, I love him and I want to go on his show, but obviously he's in Hawaii, so
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
hard to. Yeah, I like going on his show, but it's hard to have it go to work after that. You know, then the next morning, he starts so late.
But I'm gonna do more basically to take care of my channel now that Leon is set up to come on. And that way, you know, because you know, me and him been talking. Man, I used to get frustrated with him because we only talked by DM, and DM doesn't like, you know, there's so many people I talk through IM and stuff, and you can actually tell when they're actually there and they're typing. Now I think DM has actually changed, by the way. But when me and him first started talking, you know, it's like, you know,
we would do a couple of like sentences, a couple of messages, then you would reply to something, and I'd be like, and then you'd say like, "Didn't you get my message?" I'd be like, "No, when?" And you'd say, "I sent this," and you screenshot it. I was like, "I never got that." And I was like, "Oh my god!" We've got 50%
Yeah.
of the information, and we're now arguing.
Yeah, we used to get a little frustrated with DM, you know. I remember, you know, when I used to start, I think it's Star Trek, yeah. BBC America would play Star Trek like from midnight to it's like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I would start hitting him up around 3 a.m. my time, but he probably got up around 4 a.m. my time. But I would start sending stuff then, and then he'd wake up and see that I would, and then we get in a little conversation as he's getting ready for work and stuff. But that's how we kind of got to know each other, and this is similar, you know. So I want to have him on more, and I want him to be part of this more, and I want him to see that the community is not something to be afraid of, because he doesn't. You know, he wasn't pushed here or anything like that. You know, I was, and I brought Ignition along, and so by us, like sort of by hook or by crook, he had to kind of come. And
Right.
and I know
Gotcha.
there's, you know, I mean, he doesn't. His politics are different there. There's something different going on there, you know. So
Yeah.
he doesn't necessarily have to even talk about any of that stuff because it doesn't really affect him. But we're seeing a
No.
complete change in our country. I went and saw Replica yesterday with my wife, Leon, and all 5 trailers that we saw were led by females. They were Attila Battle Angel. I'm assuming there's a female that's playing her, and then they sort of CG the rest of it.
Yeah.
But every single movie was female lead.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like straight white man has become the enemy over here, and it's unfortunate.
It is. I mean, it's the same over here. Like I said to you before, like I get it, like why they're pushing for it, but now I'm like, do you know what? I don't even have to say it. I don't even have to articulate it without causing some sort of controversy.
Well, it is controversial.
The 2 big female icons in superhero world, right? Wonder Woman. I absolutely believe that it was the right time for her. The special effects, the CGI, we can now do loads more with films, right? And Wonder Woman, I love her character. I think she's phenomenal. Here's my thing. Do I think they got the best actress to play her? No. Like, physically, to me, I'm still like, I don't know. I don't know if you're as strong looking, because I think Adam Hughes draws the best Wonder Woman. And for me, that's how Wonder Woman should look, right? Gal Gadot, she's fine. She's a good actress. I don't think she's what I would have chosen to be Wonder Woman. But the film had to come out at some point because she's part of the DC Trinity. So good, all right? What I'm not going to go cinema to watch, I'm not going to go and watch Captain Marvel, because I just think Marvel just panicked. And we need to have a strong superhero heroine. And they shoved her out. And I'm like, this chick lived in Rogue's head in the X-Men for about a decade. And she was unbelievably forgotten. And then they just went, we need someone. And they just pushed her to the front. And now they're just cramming her right down our throats. Like, she's the best one. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, there's tons more. I think Storm of the X-Men, a much more powerful female representation of a superhero. Like Rogue, even Rogue. And I'd even take Sue Storm.
Yeah, I think.
It does my nut. I'm like, not her. Like, Sue Storm is arguably the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four. All right? And they've not pushed her forward. And I think she's the better one. Even Jean Grey. I'll take Jean Grey at a press.
And I take Kitty Pryde. I think she was one of the more well-developed. I watched her, you know, from when she first came on in the books to becoming the ninja, to becoming the computer whiz, to all these different very skill sets, because she's a genius. She's just a brilliant character, and her power set isn't her power. She's not overpowered. You know, it's a very basic.
I think her power set is almost secondary to her character.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going for.
That I like about her character. And I find her intriguing. I always thought to myself, if I had the chance to write a title, like in a mutant world, I'd have her, but I would have her as the leader. Like she played
Yeah.
a much more Professor X-esque role than active, because I think that's where she works best, when her mind is being used.
Yeah, and then once she's in the field, then they know. I mean, it's about to go down. She's just that dangerous, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like she's running through and taking your skeleton with her.
But that was developed over years, and it was done in a way where it was very natural, it was organic. You got to see a character come from suburb of Deerfield, Illinois, to being, you know, a cosmic space spanning, you know, ninja with. It was great.
Yeah, she was very, very organic. I mean, like when she came along, it was literally just before the Dark Phoenix saga kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
So her baptism of fire with the X-Men was literally universe ending.
It was, yeah, when she came through the front door of the school, that was great. I still remember that book. It's, you know, welcome to the Kitty Pride X-Men, or welcome to the X-Men Kitty Pride. Hope you survived the
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and then her trial by fire was fighting that Nagari, the alien kind of ripoff.
Who had the same powers as her.
Yeah, and she killed it with the engines on the X-Jet. I mean, it was brilliant work.
Yeah, that's what I like. And like, I think I've got a newfound respect for the Fantastic Four. And I know everyone hated the reboot film, but I loved it. I loved it, apart from the last 20 minutes. But I thought,
Lord, really? You loved it?
Yeah, it was a science fiction film that just happened to have the members of Fantastic Four in it. It was just such a creepy, slow-moving sci-fi, and I can imagine the producers going, "Well, we need a big fight," and they just took over, and they just I've forgotten the the woman's name, the actress. They just put a wig on her, and they went, redo these lines. But the bit where they went back to the dimension and Victor Von Doom was walking towards them, I was like, oh my God, he's still alive. That planet has sustained him and driven him insane, and his suit's melted onto his body. I loved all of that. I thought that made loads of sense, and that was well thought out. And it was literally just spoiled by the end. And because Fantastic Four wasn't part of the MCU, I think people shout on it for no other reason than it just wasn't part of the MCU. There was no need. It was a solid film.
Was it? I still haven't seen it. It was kind of too many movies at once, you know, for me to go and see them all.
I love. I even when they announced they had Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm, and people were like, "Well, how can he be her brother if he's black and she's white?" And I thought, easily adopted. It's not
it's the 21st century, man. It can be anything. You know?
The fact that his body burns isn't the issue. You want to know how a black guy and a white girl could be related.
Okay. Yeah, I know. It's like, where are you going to suspend your disbelief? You know, I mean, just to enjoy the story.
It done, and they explained it in just a sentence, and that was it. And I thought, yeah, because that's all it will take. Because for them, that's just how they grew up. Doesn't need anything else.
I got to tell you, yeah, it was a great film. I actually even like The Rise of the Silver Surfer, just to see him on the screen and to see you know the whole. Because that's one of my favorite books from Marvel that just doesn't get the love because it's almost archaic. As the adventuring super family, you know, that was done in so many different ways, whether it was Lost in Space or Swiss Family Robinson. It's just a different version of it, you know, in some ways. But
I never really enjoyed the Fantastic Four until Hickman took over and he did that phenomenal run.
Yeah, that one
was Reeds. I was like, oh wow, this guy gets it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got all the classic tropes and did them with his own spin on it. It was really good.
Yeah. Did you read his Avengers?
Yes, that was the huge Endgame kind of. Yeah, that was massive and it was amazing.
Into a world defense system, and because I like Brian Michael Bendis' run, right? I like his stuff, and when he did the Avengers, I was like, okay, cool, that's cool. You know, he's brought them street level, and he's brought along his favorite characters, and he's even made Daredevil an Avenger. And then when Hickman took over, I was like, I'll give it an issue or so and see how it goes. I was absolutely blown away with where he took it. He took him to the future. They ended the world when Hyperion and Thor took on the Beyonders in a suicide run. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, Hyperion and Thor. That was the best fight scene ever, and just the way they related to each other as brothers in arms, you know. And throughout, and he built that relationship because they both are on such a different level of existence than any other character because they're immortal and they can move planets, you know. So it was good. There was a lot of great touches in that.
It was loads. I remember reading it and feeling almost jealous. I was like, oh.
I know, and it's like for me, it's like just the same thing as looking at Mike Diodato Jr.'s artwork. I mean, it's amazing. But speaking of artwork, man, it's so hard to write and draw with the camera in your face and then trying to think of something to say while you're also drawing. It's like I keep redrawing these things over and over again. I'm killing myself here. But it's fun. It's good times, though.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, I'll just do some.
Got any more questions?
Let me check.
I'll do some doodle work instead.
No more questions really.
Okay.
Something I like to say at the end of my streams is that you know, I'm an approachable person, you know. I don't have any I don't hide behind any names. I named this channel what I named it, but you can find me on Twitter at Maroney Todd, or you can find me on Instagram at Todd Maroney. I'm not worried about any nonsense, anyone trying to hijack me or anything. We're basically what it boils down to. This is comics, you know. I mean, it doesn't really. It's a community that we're creating. It has nothing to do with the nonsense of politics or who's our president or any of that. I'm not. You know, I was raised a Republican and I was registered as a Republican, but I'm not even a big fan of our not smarter than a fifth grader president. You know, to be honest.
And that's cool, man. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I mean, I am a fan of some of the things he's doing. He doesn't want the U.S. to be shit on anymore and stuff like that. And so,
yeah, I was a fan of my tax returns, man. I'll tell you that.
Right, he has every right to take a different approach than has ever been taken, and that's fine. You know, I don't really, you know, I wouldn't want a porn actress to be my first female president, but you know. I guess ultimately, what would you do? You know what I mean? So that's how I guess I look at it. But anyway, so that's neither here nor there. I just don't think that.
I was like, where did that come from, Holmes?
What?
Because he's been in a few porns. I don't know if you guys know that.
Oh no, that's
cool. He's actually, he's had walk-in parts in a few porn movies, like 5 of them or something like that.
Okay. So he's been cast.
Yeah. No, like they weren't. You know, they weren't. He walked in as himself, and it was that kind of a thing. But still, would you do that? You know, I mean, I wouldn't even do that as me. First off, if I'm not going to get to have any fun, I don't want to be in it at all, right? So I guess that's how I would look at it. And that's all right. I mean, we're just a bunch of guys this is all about comics, you know, and we're trying to here. I say this always at the end of we're trying. There's a void, and you guys are speaking out about that void because you don't want this in your comics or you don't want that in your comics, and we're seeing it. I mean, the review I don't even watch a lot of this. Your boy Zach's videos. I don't watch a lot of them. What I do watch them because I don't, again, I don't have time to be watching everybody's videos.
No, there's so much.
He did one on Domino, and every goddamn thing he said was accurate to a point. I mean, to a point. the characters are so out of character. You know, it was so bad. And then they all hugged at the end. It was so ridiculous. And then come to find out,
Oh my gosh.
So that's the last issue. Now it's going to become a miniseries. So they don't want to say they canceled it. That Gail Simone couldn't even get it to issue 12. They don't want to say that. So they're saying, oh, it was always intended to be a series of miniseries. Really?
Wait, sorry, you mean Domino, like X-Force Domino?
Yes. Yeah.
Gail Simone didn't even understand her powers. She never even understood her powers until like issue 8. It's like she wouldn't even go read the Wikipedia, he said, of who she was.
But her power is to alter probability into her favor, yeah?
Right.
More-
It's a different version of the luck power that Longshot has.
Yeah.
It's sort of a probability power.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hers was more direct, I think, and Longshot was more haphazard or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he would like throw a blade and it would always hit a target somehow. Like something from Final Destination. So bounce off like 18 things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of get that.
So, yeah, I mean, again, we're just trying to fill that void of what you, as a fan and reader, want. You know, comics that don't. I mean, granted, our comic isn't dark and gritty, but it'll have enough dark and gritty in there to. It's a mature comic in that sense, but it also could be read. You know, it could be read by a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old. For sure.
You need it to be read by a 12 because they're the ones going to grow with it, and you need to explain that.
That's the age I started. 12 years old was the age I started.
It will be insulting to do anything other than acknowledge what it is. So you don't need loads. You don't need someone fighting crime in a bathing suit because that makes no sense to me. I don't care if she's got a gun strapped to her leg. It's a nonsensical costume. All right, so we're not going to be doing things like that. Sorry, guys. It's not going to happen unless we have bikini ninjas.
And be honest, Leon, there's tons of diversity in our cast.
Oh,
we don't.
Yes.
Yeah, our book would be more. It should cross over and be read by everybody, to be honest. But I'm not going to even state that. But our book is very diverse. And you can just tell Noah's a pretty boy, you know?
Yeah.
You look at him, he's a pretty boy. So it almost looks like an SJW book, but it's not. It's just bringing books back to where I remember them, where they felt good to me. They were something I looked forward to.
And that's exactly what I want to create. And that's my project that I'm working on too. You know, I wish I had more time and, you know, didn't have to work full time because I want to put a whole universe together, you know, so there's going to be all like exactly that's what I always enjoyed was the crossover characters and then seeing a new character from another book and the book I'm reading and then go check out their story, you know, and to me that was one of the biggest appeals to that's why I liked Valiant when it first started and I've always loved the history in DC and the relationship between characters and so if that's what I want to develop. Takes a huge amount of work. But it's going to be great.
And I think back to those things like you're talking about Valiant, and then was birthed out of that was Defiant, and like why weren't they successful? You know what was the crux of why they weren't successful? Because some of those books are good. Remember Plasm?
Yeah, Plasm was good. Dark Dominion was a really great concept. You know,
right.
I think a lot of it was. I mean, it was Steve Ditko was the artist in an era where everyone wanted Jim Lee. You know,
I think that's where it started to fall because everyone was trying to copy what was cool about something. So remember when Gambit first came out? Then all of a sudden, everyone's wearing a trench coat over their costume.
Yeah, and everyone had that kind of headgear where the top of their hair came out. You know,
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
what shows their whole face. So how's your secret identity doing?
and that's right. Who needs one? But that's what sold the books. But the story wasn't what drove books then. It wasn't until really early 2000s is like all these story-driven books were coming out that were so good.
Yeah, because remember when Warren Ellis took over Stormwatch, and he just got rid of all those costumes. He was like, no.
Yeah.
And he just did one single issue where he basically fired all of Stormwatch. And
Yeah,
went,
he killed the entire cast, but like two characters. It was
riddled them off in seconds, and he went, I'm going to keep you, I'm going to keep you, and then from the ashes, I'm going to create the Authority. And that was brilliantly done.
Yeah, and the Authority was just, so you had just Brian Hitch just blew at my mind on that. Oh my gosh.
He did duties on that.
Yeah. It was,
I loved every minute of every page. Like,
yeah, that's got to be in one of my, in the top 10 books. It was that first trade of Authority.
Yes.
And I found that I had someone recommend. I was living in New York, and the comic book guy at a store recommended Authority, so I bought the trade. And then I went all over town to find all the Stormwatch trade paperbacks. I was crawling Manhattan, going to every comic book store I could, so I could get the story with the high and the story where the mission where everyone got killed off, and I couldn't get enough of that. Man,
I just remember the high, and he had that group, and they disagreed with everything, and they were just going to save the world from itself.
Yeah,
they're not even villains; they're warped heroes, and it was such an amazing concept. I was like, "Wow, this guy is not scared to put it out there and make people think."
And that's oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, and I'm saying like he just didn't follow anyone. Like he was like, this is what's going to happen. But again, going back, I mean, so when Gambit came out, so Chris Claremont invented Gambit, brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what's the artist? Lee Weeks. Everyone thinks it was Jim Lee. It was Lee Weeks. He did the first Gambit.
Well, yeah, it was
Jim's. And then a couple of months later, in the Avengers, because everyone seems to think that the Avengers was always Marvel's top book. It wasn't. He used to flag behind X-Men like every month. And they had Black Knight lose his sword, then he got a lightsaber, and then all of a sudden he took his cape off and he's wearing a trench coat. I was like, why? And he still had his helmet. I was like, I don't understand. I don't understand.
And everyone had a Avengers bomber jacket on.
Yes, with the
Cersei, Crystal, Black Widow, even Giant Man, I think had
even one. Hercules.
Yeah, even Hercules.
He shaved and he had a bomber jacket. I'm like, this is the son of Zeus. Why would he follow this? But it's out there, and I mean, like, I think all these guys, so like Plasm and all the stuff from Valiant, they started off really well, and then they started following what Marvel was doing.
Right, instead of blazing their own trail.
And when they lost their identity, and it was people figured it out really quickly, people lost interest.
And I started now. I don't really have any interest in comic books anymore. I mean, buying anything new. So I started doing anime and manga, and I always was so interested in comic books that never appealed to me. And I'm watching and reading Naruto, and it's like I can't believe every time it's just like they keep upping the ante and the power level and the scale and the scope of the damage of the battle or the risk involved. And it's like they don't care what happens, they don't worry about is this plausible or is it not. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's so much fun. I'm having a blast doing this, and it's really inspired me to change what I was originally doing with my story.
Yeah.
And just up it and just go for it. I mean, I don't know how to explain it without, going on and on and on and droning about my story, but
if somewhere in the future somebody makes a documentary called How Diamond Killed So Many Companies, that's, I mean, I don't know that they did, but you hear this, you hear that, you hear this, get this, and it almost seems like that may have been the case, that they were not, they allowed Marvel and DC to bully them into pushing out competition.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the numbers of the Defiant books, what they sold and stuff, but I know I was buying them. So I knew what kind of consumer I was, right? So I don't know how they weren't successful.
Well, it's
because
true. I mean, things like that can really make a difference because that's such a small industry. You know, if Chuck Rosansky and Mile High Comics can determine whether or not comic book companies can. I mean, he was instrumental in making in the current business plan where comic books were not returnable. They used to be returnable. He was also instrumental in the court case to define well when Diamond was being sued for being a monopoly. He was instrumental in making sure that they were not seen as a monopoly. I mean, he put money down for the lawyers. He's a key character witness. So if one person who owns a chain of comic book stores can affect the entire industry, that's how delicate and small it is.
Yeah.
You know, when one publisher decides to go exclusive with one distribution, when Marvel did that, they shut down half the stores in the United States. You know, it's amazing how comic books are always their worst enemy too. I mean, the industry beats itself up.
I think the comic book industry's hit is on its upswing at the moment because of the movies, because they just every film generates new readership, right? And they know it. That's why they keep renumbering things. Right. Once again, here's the first issue of Domino on the back of Deadpool 2, and that's it. And people will keep doing it. They will keep getting involved because they're seeing it on the big screen, and then they will run off and they'll buy their trade, and that's what they're doing. And they're just praying that whichever creator they slap into that title does something decent for 4 to 6 issues, and people just go, "Yep, that was a really good run," and then they dip out and they try to get the Avengers, JLA, or X-Men run under their belt because that's where the most readership are. And most of those guys are readers out of habit rather than anything else.
Well, tell me which book that's come out in the last 2 years that you go, man, someday that's going to be reprinted, and because it was such a big hit, and kids will be reading this book forever. What book? None.
None. Wait. No. Not at all.
Maybe that Liam Sharp Wonder Woman, you know?
Well, unfortunately, the books the kids are reading are really not the good ones. I mean, I've seen what's available in the library is at schools, and it's these scholastic, crappy Squirrel Girl books. You know, that's the stuff that they go find. It's not
Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel,
Gwen,
was it Gwenpool?
Yeah.
Champion.
Yeah, I'll go check out different libraries when I'm in towns and see what they have for selections for graphic novels, and they're all these really.
It's going to be all of that.
Yeah, it's all that. I mean,
any adaptation of Young Justice.
Right.
That's what it will be. Possibly Aquaman.
And you watch this line of books that Bendis is going to be sort of overseeing. There isn't a book there that, one, would have interested me when I was a kid. As much as I love Super Friends, I was a huge Super Friends fan. But the look of Zan and what's her name? Zan and what is it?
Zatanna?
No, Zan. The Wonder Twins. Zan and something, I forget. But the look of them, it looks like coloring book art. There's no detail. There's nothing there. It's not the
man, that's what they want.
It's not even manageable. It's not even close. There's no muscle. It's tubes. You know, it's just tubes. There's no muscles. There's no definition. They look terrible. Now, even as big as a Super Friends fan as I was, I would not buy that book. So I can't. I look at it like, as a kid, what would I buy on this rack, or what would I buy that I see? You know, and to be honest, I was pretty smart as a kid that I went towards independence pretty early. And I love books now like Low. Low is a great book. Black Monday Murders, awesome book. I can't say enough about it.
I guess I should. I would say like really one of the only books I'm still picking up is Stray Bullets from David Lapham.
Right? That started at Defiant, didn't it?
That started at Well, he started at Valiant, but no, he did El Capitan was his.
That's
no,
quite
the very first Stray Bullets I thought came out of Defiant, or the company that came branched off of Defiant.
It was El Capitan. It was his own publishing, his own book. He had his own print. That was the only thing he did.
And then it went to Image for a while.
Yeah, that's where he's been for the last few years.
Yeah.
But he does it. And then, I mean, he took a break for a while, did some detective comics, made some money, and then went back to doing it, you know. So, I mean, good for him. The guy's just brilliant. But, yeah, like I said, that's one of the only things I look forward to getting.
I've actually never read it.
It's a great true crime kind of storyline. I mean,
it's had some arcs that haven't been good, but I haven't kept up with it all the way through.
But he's been doing it for close to 20 years now, so there's a lot.
Yeah, I know it's been going for a while. My friend picked up and he tried to turn me onto it, but ironically, at the time he did that, I started reading 100 Bullets, and I was like, no, I'm only reading this because this is the best thing I've read in a long while.
Yeah. I mean, it's a similar vein, but really still different. You know, very different.
I can imagine because I can't imagine anything being quite like 100 Bullets.
No.
That was an intriguing premise, and the way it ended.
I'm gonna have to jump off and go spend some time with the wife and kids, and then But Leon, it was great to meet you, man, and good to talk books with you. Very cool. Todd,
thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Sorry I wasn't on earlier when you had a bunch of people on, but
no, that's all right.
Just would have been all white noise anyway. So, but no, man. Thanks for the invite. I guess I'll catch up with you in a few on our little meeting here for Tales Beyond the Gate. So.
Oh, we have a meeting?
Yeah, we moved it to tonight.
Okay.
10 o'clock, I believe, Central.
Okay. I'll see you there.
All right.
All right. So, Leon, you got anything you want to say before you go?
No, I'm good.
All right, so we're gonna do more of this. We're gonna bring you on. We're gonna get you on Fan Speak, and that way people can, I'm sure they'll have more questions, or as we go along. I mean, obviously you're sitting here kind of idle waiting on me, but maybe we can do some streams where I draw. I'll draw Ignition, draw some work while we talk. Things like that. People, they love that, and I'm not, I don't mind doing it. I definitely got to finish that double page spread where I cut the car in half.
Yes.
And that might be one of those ones that I color.
Yeah.
For the campaign and stuff like that. So it's a good. I mean, that's the first time in the book where you see him in costume. And I think that's a really good starting point maybe for the campaign. We'll see. I mean, that's something obviously we'll talk about. So I appreciate you coming on, Leon. I always enjoy talking to you because that just brings us closer together as brothers, as far as just, the more interaction we have, the more I feel like you're becoming more of a part of sort of my family in that sense, and I know you went through a lot, but I'm glad to see you're doing a lot better.
Cheers.
In the last couple months, you're looking like you're doing a lot better than the first time I saw you on camera talking to you.
Yeah, bad times. That's cool.
All right, we'll end it here. Thanks everyone for coming. You can stay right there for a sec.